Welcome to the Friday edition of Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode here with messed up headphones, but I got Elijah Campbell.
Who needs headphones when I'm along?
Michelle Knezovic, intern Will. It's a Friday morning party here. Seriously, what did you do to the headphones, man? These were working all week. You come in today and they're messed up.
The same thing happened when I was here filling in producing not too long ago, where we had to go through, 4 or 5 different headphones? And only one had anything working.
So I think, I mean, honestly, I think there must be a thing where headphones get, zapped or something, and one ear goes out. Is that right? I didn't know about this phenomenon, but it has to be.
Hey, a couple of years ago, it was the adapters. The adapters on the headphones that you used to plug them in, that 1/4-inch adapter, those things used to disappear like you wouldn't believe.
Really?
I was convinced we had a radio ferry coming in an overnight.
Okay, well, that's a weird.
All of our adapters, and now it might just have evolved to headphones. Now.
That's a weird thing. That's somebody intentionally taking them though. That's somebody removing them. This is hard to explain. I mean, I don't know. Anyone out there who is a headphones electronics expert, let us know. But in the meantime, Elijah, welcome to the show. The average age of the co-host this week has just plummeted today.
I have wrecked it. I have wrecked it.
Yeah, no, I mean, we needed to probably level it down a little bit. You've leveled it down some. It was 78 before this, and now it is. I'm sorry, Big Joe. Big Joe. I think Big Joe's like 91, right? I think so.
Something like that.
He's a really spry.
The Methuselah of Nashville media, if you will.
He's a really energetic, spry 91-year-old. But
as spry as it gets.
That's right. But it's good to have you in. We're gonna have a fun show today. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of Titan stuff going on, of course. We've got Kayla Anderson. We've got Teron Davenport. Adam Vingan is going to tell us about fatherhood, which is now an experience he has, and about young Arlo.
So this is
who was born yesterday.
His first radio appearance as a new man.
Well, as far as I know, I mean, I guess it's possible he went on some station in Winnipeg yesterday, or Edmonton or something.
We didn't even get the first interview.
I don't know. I would hope we did, but I'm just saying I haven't confirmed that. And we got Scott Corley, Belmont AD later too. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff with Scott and the top 25 ranked Bruins. And by the way, we are going to talk some hoops today. I mean, we cannot have you possibly. Yeah, look at Michelle. She is pumped in there. She's
pumped.
Basketball, that is Elijah and I's niche. We love it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you guys on Twitter talking about the Memphis-Tennessee game, which is must see. I hope that game is early. By the way, because
they can have that anytime
they want. The Titans, I have to go to Pittsburgh that day, but if it's early, I think I can do it. Because that would be I need it early, man. I want to see this in.
You're wanting
a nice noon, tip-off. Yeah, nice noon tip-off at Bridgestone. But Memphis is man, they are quite a story right now in college basketball. So we're gonna get to that, and also today we are celebrating. I mean, this is the birthday party for 102.5 The Game, 10th birthday party. That's a big one.
That's crazy.
That's a big one. And with that, we are giving away pretty massive, awesome prizes every hour. This is where I'm going to put my headphones on and deal with one ear.
So you can hear in one ear at least, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
So I want to make sure I don't screw this up, okay? And the good thing is we just started. I mean, who's listening now, right? I mean, I like the early segments because I'm like, I can just basically do anything.
This is like your preseason.
Yeah, right, exactly.
This is the preseason of the rest of the show.
Trial and error, and then you get serious around 7:30. But we have something to give away right here, Michelle. Is that right? Or are we wait until the 7 o'clock and then go from there? I know I got this email last night. I just want to make sure
we're going to be doing ticket giveaways every hour on the show. The 6 a.m. hour, that one's going to be a little bit delayed. That one might be a little bit later in this first hour.
Just got to keep listening.
Can I say what it is, or do we just wait on that?
Yeah, we can say what they are.
So the first hour here, whenever we do it, is Eric Clapton, Bridgestone Arena, September 21st.
Yes.
There's a lot of good stuff in here. So be ready for that. For the most part, we're going to try to do it around the top of the hour. and have an all day. I mean, all day long. And then, of course, we're going to be out at Neighbors, too. The Darren Donick Chase and Stillman and Company are going to be at Neighbors in Germantown as well. So it's going to be an all-day bash. So there you go. Now I'm going to take these off.
now that now you don't need
it's hard to think like that. But before we get into – first of all, I mean, we're going to get into Titans and all that stuff. And COVID and all these things, some things that are fun, some things that aren't next. But first of all, if you were running this show, Elijah, you got 4 hours, you got 16 segments. How much of this show would you make about basketball?
Oh man! After this week's news, and usually, like I guess in August, I can maybe reserve one for it. I could do. I mean, personally, your boy could do 4 hours of basketball talk radio here.
Yeah.
But with training camp going on, the Titans being in the news with some of their COVID positive tests with only, 12 some odd days until the season starts, that's a little juicy. But I think you could do several segments about this Memphis basketball team because you have arguably the most interesting collegiate sports team, not just college basketball, the most intriguing team in collegiate sports hanging out in West Tennessee with Memphis. Not only do you have the number 1 recruiting class in the country, you have the youngest recruiting class in the country. Amani Bates, who committed this past week, won't turn 18 until like January 18th. He is incredibly young because he reclassified. Jalen Duren, the same thing. Very, very young. These guys both reclassified, so they're insanely young, insanely talented. And, they're coached by Penny Hardaway, who this offseason hired Larry Brown.
And, Larry Brown and Sheed.
Larry Brown and Rasheed Wallace. So, this hiring Larry Brown in the year of our Lord 2021 is not something that could have happened without the assistance of NIL, correct? Like, there's just no way. Like, with the amount of trouble that guy's ran into with the NCAA or any other coaching organization he's ever been a part of, you can't do that without NIL. And also, over-under on bench technicals for Rasheed Wallace, I'm setting at 15.5.
Man, I mean, like, first of all, just as soon as Rasheed was hired, I'm like, I have got to get over there and, like, watch a practice. Like, this has got to be what a collection. And then incredible. You add Amani Bates, who, again, Amani Bates, hesitant to oversell teenagers, okay? But he's already been on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and my friend Michael Rosenberg did a piece on him for Sports Illustrated and basically saying he could be like the next, Kevin Durant. I mean, like, and that may be a little much.
It's always a little presumptuous.
And in fact, he's not even the number 1 recruit in this class technically, but he's a generational potentially talent.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why he would think he needs to play point guard, but that's another topic
he's gotten
entirely.
Some bad advice in that arena. When you're 6'8" with those arms and can shoot like that, you let others do the creation for you because you are the best scoring option on whatever team you're going to play on.
Right, score. So, but it's going to be it's going to be fascinating. I mean, it's weird. I saw Vegas odds that have, and then you think about them, and you think about what Tennessee will have too on the quarter.
Tennessee, the number 4 recruiting class in the country, according to 24/7 Sports.
But I saw Vegas odds that had Memphis, I think, second now in terms of somebody tweeted out some Vegas odds yesterday that had Gonzaga definitely with the the
as
lowest odds.
Yeah.
But Memphis right after that, which I was like, no kidding. That's it was like 9-2 or something.
There's a really good case for that, and that is because ever since Penny Hardaway has gotten to Memphis, now on Twitter I saw the jokes. 2 ranked number 1 classes, no NCAA tournament appearances.
Right.
Ha ha ha.
Sure.
He had the first one you can put an asterisk by because James Wiseman called it quits after 3 games because of the stuff he had going on with the NCAA. Well, he doesn't have to deal with that. Penny doesn't have to deal with that kind of stuff anymore. This class is going to play this year. Their best players in that class are going to play. And this is a team that, even though they were in the NIT last year, went 20-8 in the regular season, lost 5 of those 8 games by 3 points or less. This is a team that I get it. If ifs and ands or pots and pans, the world would be a kitchen and things are a lot different. But they were 2-5 in 1-possession games. The math only tells you that can go up. This is a team that easily could have been a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament last year if it's not for a half-court buzzer beater from Houston, if it's not from a couple 1-point losses in January to teams that might not have been great, but if you survive those games, it doesn't matter. And you have a team that was number 1 in KenPom defensive efficiency over teams like Loyola Chicago, like teams that were the elite basketball teams. Memphis was the elite defensive basketball team in college basketball last year. They were the year before, too. Every year Penny Hardaway's been there, they've been an elite defensive team. They just haven't had anyone who can score the damn basketball. Well, they've been offensively atrocious to watch the last 3 years.
I think you're being a little easy on Penny because I think that what they do offensively hasn't been great either.
It hasn't been great either.
So, like you can do some things. I think you're right. He coaches defense well. I think you can coach offense better than he has. But yeah, sometimes you have someone who's who can just get buckets and it makes everything better around it all of a sudden magically.
And there's two
shots fall.
Yeah, and there's two things. There's two categories that the Memphis Tigers last year offensively were in the bottom 50 in college basketball in. Turnover rate on offense, free throw shooting. You can't shoot 61% of your free throws and expect to win more than 2 of those 7 one-possession games that I mentioned earlier.
It's like a Memphis tradition, the free throws. See, look, I mean, one segment we're just talking hoops. It's amazing. I knew you'd come in here and just hoop-eyes this show. I love it.
Exactly.
By the way, real fast on that, there is a little bit of question on the FedEx aspect of this deal, which of course was heavily pitched to Imani Bates, on the whether that's actually, because you're still, even though there's very few restrictions, you're not supposed to recruit with this. So, I mean, that is something to keep in mind on the whole thing. I mean, frankly, I would like that all to just go away and let's have an open market, but we'll see where that goes.
Some bags.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Bags have been getting dropped, so why not bring it all out to the light? But I don't know. In the meantime, we're going to get a break here on Robby and Rexrode, and we invite you to join us on the phone or text line 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. And when we come back, we're going to talk Titans, Ryan Tannehill, the latest on everything going on in that building. Welcome back, Robby and Rexrode. ESPN 102.5 The Game. Joe Rexrode. I almost just said Robby Rexrode. Robby Rexrode here. That'd be a cool name, though. Robby
You guys
Rexrode.
just merged into one.
Lots of alliteration in that name. Robby Rexrode. Robby is in the Disney World. I don't know exactly which aspect of it, but I don't know. Is today the final day at a park for the Stanleys? I don't know.
I did see this morning. I was on Instagram. Robbie Stanley had a post out there.
Nice.
He got stuck on Space Mountain.
Okay.
I saw that. I saw the pictures he tweeted about being stuck on Space Mountain, and it looks weird.
Well, that's
You're not supposed to see that kind of stuff.
No, because, I mean, anybody who's been on Space Mountain or is familiar with it, it's dark in there. And that's the funny thing I've heard about Space Mountain, which is hard for me to believe, is it actually isn't going that fast. I've been told that it's actually going way slower than you would think, but because you don't know where you're going, it feels faster and more like explosive. Because I've always loved Space Mountain. I mean, that's
one of the best ones.
Yeah, going way back. It's been a great ride for a long time. But yeah, so here we go. Robbie Stanley's got this picture of got stuck on Space Mountain. It was pretty awesome. And yeah, it's just like a bunch of. I mean, there's nothing aesthetically pleasing about that picture because why would they? It's just you're in the
ugly.
dark.
Yeah, you're not supposed to see behind the magic curtain here.
I mean, Disney, they've got a budget. They've got to spread the money around to other parts of the park. They got to make sure the teacups are freshly painted. So that's
they only have billions on them.
Right? Yeah. They got limitations. So anyway, Robbie Stanley, I hope they're having a blast. Hope they have a good. If today is the final day at whatever park they go to. Elijah Campbell in today for Robbie, and we're going to switch here to – we have more to talk about with Memphis basketball because there's some stuff going on with the FedEx thing. There's a story that came out, and it was about the FedEx involvement in the NIL deal. And look, I knew – Amani Bates, I knew going way back, the only way he was going to play college basketball was if name, image, likeness was going to be very lucrative because otherwise he was going to go get paid in another professional league. So – anyway, there's a story that now has been sanitized of all references to FedEx, and a Forbes reporter has, the screenshots, and it's once again, could just be very interesting with Penny Hardaway in Memphis. I mean, they make it into it's juicy. It's amazing. Yeah. But you got me headphones at work, so thank you.
Yes.
I'm just going to thank Michelle for the whole week and in advance for the other various things I screw up today that you helped me with, Michelle. So,
Joe, thank you.
You've done yeoman's work this week.
You have been doing amazing taking over for Robbie, but we are definitely happy to have our point guard back in studio on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, this is. Well, basically, I'm like Amani Bates. Like I should be, just jacking up, like.
Threes off
Philip
the catch.
Seymour Hoffman shots off the glass, and instead I'm trying to play point guard. But it is a cue to call, by the way. So for the giveaways each hour, it will be a cue to call, as listeners know, and this means that then you must listen during the break for the cue to call. Right. So let's go to the Titans. Ryan Tannehill on the COVID list. Craig Aukerman, Mike Vrabel confirms to us, and it's kind of obvious the last couple days of practice. Craig Aukerman, who was running practices, now is not out there. So it's kind of it's pretty easy to put two and two together. But Vrabel confirmed that for us that he's also on the list. Again, being on the list, that's 9 people, 7 players, 2 coaches we know of. Being on the list does not mean you had a positive. I actually I'm going to give a shout out to Ben Arthur from the Tennessean. I enjoy when national reporters are dunked on, and Adam Schefter tweeted, sources say 9 positives, and actually Ben Arthur said, actually, no, that's not true. They're not all positives. Some are on the list because they are close contacts. So Adam Schefter had a fact error, and Ben Arthur called him out, and good job, Ben Arthur. So we don't know who is COVID positive. We don't know who is merely on the list because of being in close contact. We do know that all of a sudden it feels like last year again. And here we go.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff came out around this yesterday. First of all, the Titans are deemed a cluster, not an outbreak, which I mean to me, that word is reserved by the NFL for teams that are doing things wrong. I know Bruce Arians is mad, and he's talking about this dinner with Ryan Suckup. But the bottom line is the Titans didn't have COVID problems, so they went to Florida either. So who knows?
Yeah, it was also dealing with an outbreak themselves in that state, as bad as anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean,
you could blame it on anything.
It's bad here. It's bad there. At this point, look, trying to find blame for stuff like this is pretty pointless. We understand that people who are vaccinated, they are testing positive for COVID. I thought John Robinson yesterday probably had the best, one of the best, I think, little stretches of comments from an NFL person through all this stuff. He was talking about, one, how, the vaccinations, everybody who has the vaccine who is getting COVID right now is having like a day of light symptoms and then they're fine. And then he mentioned how he knows of 2 people, and I guess it would be family friends, this week who have died. And his comment right after that was the vaccine is life-saving. So, this is real-life stuff where you're basically pleading for people to please understand what's going on and get vaccinated. The NFL has tremendous numbers. I think it's 93% vaccinated among players and 99% among coaches. And as Alan Sills, the NFL doctor, said, if this was society, well, we would be in a way different situation right now. But the NFL still is saying it wants to mandate the vaccine in the league, and the NFLPA doesn't want that. But then the NFLPA says, well, no, you never said you wanted it mandated. So now they're fighting over what somebody said. But the NFL says, fine, we do want it. We want a vaccine mandate. I don't know if the NFLPA is wow. I'm doubting they will go for it.
Tell me a players' union and a league are at odds over words that they may or may not have said behind closed doors.
I know,
I'm stunned.
It hardly ever happens. I know.
On the stream, you can see my shocked face.
Yeah.
Right now. I'm just baffled. This has never happened.
Yeah, shocking stuff. But when you look at everything, again, I think you have to give big kudos. I give kudos to the NFL, and that's not too often. But what they did created created obviously a massive amount of momentum. Ryan Tannehill, one of the players who said, I wasn't going to get it. He got it because of it. Still, though, we have these positives. We have the prospect here as we move toward the season of just another messy year that's kind of like last year, different because we have a vaccine, but still way more of a mess than I ever guessed it would be.
It's still a little bit of a mess, and it seems like a whole lot of one right now, but you did mention that some of these positives are from vaccinated players. So one thing we established several weeks ago, whenever the NFL released their memo regarding the protocol changes for vaccinated players compared to unvaccinated players, it's not going to take as long to say Ryan Tannehill tested positive. Just theoretically speaking, because we don't know if he did or not, because of Ben Arthur's report, not all of these are protocols, not actually all positives. He's not waiting. I think it's he's 5 to 10 days can come back, and on the low, and like 10 days is the high side of that. I mean, he could come down positive in a game week and still be cleared to play that same week. Whereas last year, Cam Newton test positive for COVID. You are definitely not playing on Sunday if you test positive on a Monday or a Tuesday. While it may seem messy right now, I think it's good for the league, not just for like the Titans, the league, to get this out of the way, to see what's going to actually work, how we're going to be able to go through waters like this, because it's not going to be the first time this happens. As we learned with the Titans last year when they became the first team to have a little bit of an outbreak, it's not the first time that this is going to happen. We got to go ahead and find a way to figure it out and test whether or not these adjusted protocols are going to work. And, of course, the Bills are going through something similar right now with unvaccinated players.
And that's different. And that's going to be treated differently, too. So with the Titans, you mentioned, the timing. I mean, look, it's never good to lose your quarterback, to lose various players, coaches, your head coach. But, 2 weeks from Sunday is the opener. So, in theory, the Titans could be through this by the time they get to game week.
I'd be stunned if they're not.
Mike Vrabel was asked about that yesterday in his Zoom presser. Here's what he said. So that was Mike Vrabel talking about the timing of this situation, which, again, it's never good to have. But he's right. I mean, obviously, you never know what may happen down the road. Obviously, we're seeing vaccinated people, and it's the Delta variant, as my understanding is. That's what it is now. It's the
safe bet.
Yeah. But again, it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is keep people safe, and it's working. But just a matter of does the NFL adjust? I mean, Charles Robinson, friend of the show, friend of mine for a long time, tweeted yesterday like the NFLPA was right, and they should have kept the protocols like they did last year. I mean, I don't know. I mean, frankly, like my initial reaction was I liked the change in protocols, and also distinguishing between vaccinated and unvaccinated. But it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. On this show, where it goes, we're going to talk more on the football side of things, how this affects the Titans and what we should be looking for here. Today they've got a day of walkthrough, and then, of course, tomorrow the final preseason game against the Bears. We'll get into that next on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. ESPN 94.9 is the official English radio home of the Nashville Soccer Club. Listening tomorrow's Nashville SC takes on Atlanta. Pregame starts at 2:15 and the match begins at 2:30. And just listen to that beautiful sound of Loverboy rocking out on a Friday. I'm so excited to turn Michelle into a huge Loverboy fan. That's just great. How about you, Loverboy?
Oh, yeah. The kid is hot tonight. So that's on the ultimate playlist.
The kid is hot tonight.
Oh, that's in my bumps folder.
Turn Me Loose is that. I think that might be my favorite. But Hot Girls in Love also another just
classic
jam. And actually, that guy, I forget the name of the lead singer, but he also did a nice rock ballad duet on the Footloose soundtrack. Almost Paradise. Here we go. Anybody out there? Almost Paradise. I'll look it up. But it's him. It's the Loverboy dude and someone singing a duet on the Footloose soundtrack. One of the first albums I've ever owned. LP vinyl.
Oh,
Footloose
nice.
soundtrack. Yes. Dating myself here. But anyway, yeah. Have you ever watched Footloose?
I have not all the way through. I've heard the music, but I've never actually watched it all the way through. I have heard more 80s music than I have watched 80s movies, though. Because I've come in here the last segment this week and listened to all the 80s movies references, and I get 35% of them.
Oh, I didn't realize that you were okay. Well, we're going to have to work on that, too. Yeah, well, Footloose had a reboot recently, right? I don't even remember who.
They did.
Which I'll never watch.
I don't know if it's worth watching
but,
or not.
the movie, I mean, Kevin Bacon is, like, really angry because they won't let him dance in the town. And he goes and he, like, does some really hard gymnastics. He's, like, drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette, doing some gymnastics. He's all mad.
Gymnastics and cigarette smoking sounds like such a bad combination.
It's like those awesome 80s scenes where, like, it's like they got the music and it's like a little medley of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to pull off the beer. Now I'm going to do a round off. Oh, it's amazing stuff. You got to check it out. All right, back here on Robby and Rexrode, we're talking Titans, and we're talking obviously the COVID situation. We don't know where it'll go from here. Man, I remember. I mean, last year when we got into this, when they had their outbreak, and it was daily in here on this show, and it was Tom Pelissero is going to, tweet out something, and I'm going to text a source and get confirmation, and every day it's like, here's the new name on the list. Oh, there's two names. It was just awful. I mean,
every day.
Yeah, and it feels a little bit like that now. Like today, will there be someone added to the list for the Titans? I don't know. But in the meantime, they are out there practicing. It is very different around the facility. They've gone, you see now everybody's back to like wearing the masks in the facility. They're back to not just being in normal like meeting rooms together like they have been. They're like separating out and everything. So they've adjusted their individual protocols or their team protocols. But in the meantime, I mean, there's a season to get ready for. Again, 2 weeks from the opener on Sunday, and it was just starting to look like, Tannehill going to start throwing more to Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown's out there. So how much do you think this affects that? How much of a hindrance is this going to be to them being ready for the Cardinals on September 12th?
None at all. I don't
Zero.
think it will. I will put it
Zero.
at a 0. I am not concerned whatsoever, especially with A.J. Brown. Like with the A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry core of the offense, even Anthony Ferkser in the offensive line. Like we went through the same thing last year where they had to sneak out to, what was it, MBA? I forgot which, or BA, which private school in Nashville already. Not like this was just like less than a year ago. But they sneaking out to a private school to be able to play some pitch and catch and get their timing down. They went almost a whole week without practice and still beat the hell out of the Buffalo Bills, who were without a doubt the number 2 team in the AFC last year, and was one of the biggest butt kickings the Bills suffered all year long off a team that didn't practice hardly any because the team had an outbreak. That's a good precedent. Like this offense has played with each other for a lot and on the same unit. The thing is, with Julio Jones, too, Julio Jones didn't practice that much in Atlanta either. I mean, on Darren Donick and Chase, we'd have Chris Dimino from 680 The Fan in Atlanta call in and complain about Julio Jones not playing a lot in practice, not hardly ever practicing. Julio Jones, at this point in his career, doesn't need a ton of practice reps. Yes, he is with a different quarterback, but you don't become Julio Jones if you miss practice and still don't have that kind of chemistry with your quarterback. You had to do it with Matt Ryan when he didn't practice. It's not like Julio Jones has been in training camp every day for the entirety of his career. He's at that point in his career now that he's Julio Jones because he is able to establish that kind of chemistry outside of the regular boundaries of your practice time. I'm not concerned in the least bit that this is throwing off chemistry or that it's going to be stymied by, this type of outbreak. They're still going to be, they've already put in a lot of work together, Julio and Ryan Tannehill. They've already established what they like in passes or in routes, what they look for. If they haven't by this point of the preseason and training camp, what the hell you've been doing the last several months? Julio's been on this team for almost 2 months now. I feel like they've already established something. This is the point of training camp where you're figuring out who's just making the roster, and then you're maintaining shape. Even though Ryan Tannehill's not in the building, I trust him to be keeping himself in pretty good shape, even though he can't come in right now. Julio Jones and A.J. Brown were doing some work yesterday. I don't see it as that big of a problem going into the season, especially since we're, 17 days away from the season starting?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but remember that, Julio Jones came in with Matt Ryan. Years and years with Matt Ryan. Look,
right.
It seems like it was working pretty well pretty quickly because Matt Ryan's a good quarterback and Julio Jones is Julio Jones is the best receiver of the 2010s. Like he'll always
pretty
own
easily.
That decade.
Yeah.
So I mostly agree with you. And I will, Tannehill, of course, we got Tannehill this week before he got put on the COVID list. And he had an interesting talking a little bit about he has his own cut-ups of Julio. So he has studied, and I don't know how often this really happens with a particular quarterback and a particular receiver where it's like, I want to see all the cut. It's a unique situation. You don't often have a guy who's played this long in the league at this high a level come in and be all of a sudden now he's he's your 1A or your 1B receiver. But Tannehill has a big collection of cut-ups and has been studying that. Like you said, they've talked about it. They have worked together. They have been on the side field throwing together. That happened, that's happened several times, even with Julio missing so much time. So I mostly agree with you. I do think some of the little timing stuff and everything, there's just you can't replace just repetition, and they haven't had as much of that. They certainly haven't had as much of that as they would have liked at this point. But, again, you're right. It's 17 days away, or is that what it is? 16 days, whatever the heck. It's 2 weeks from Sunday.
A hair over 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I think, if Tannehill, if you time it out, you basically could certainly have him out next week. And then you've got a good chance of him. Well, I guess if you take it to the absolute limit, then you would be talking about he'd be there for game week. So if you have game week and Julio Jones practices all of game week, I'm thinking those guys will probably be able to connect on some passes in the opener. It may not be as good as like Tannehill's feel with A.J. Brown at this point. But, yes, I think Julio Jones, just the fact that he's a veteran, the fact that he can probably sit there and talk about every coverage and every type of thing that he's seen all those years with Tannehill is going to be a big benefit there. It's also, of course, we're not going to see Julio Jones on Saturday. We're not going to see A.J. Brown Saturday. But I watched them pretty closely yesterday as they basically are kind of separated out, those two working on things, but running full speed. They look healthy to me. They don't look like they're limited in any way, limping, favoring anything, ginger at all. And they wouldn't be out there if they were. So that's the best news is that unless some setback happens, and I understand there's a bigger picture, like do you worry a little bit about A.J. Brown because knee stuff is coming up again, and we know he was playing through pain last year. But right now, I'd say it's overall quite positive that they're out there doing what they're doing, and they're going to have plenty of time to ramp up for the season.
That's the most important thing. Like, I am more concerned about the physical health of A.J. Brown and Julio Jones rather than the timing with Ryan Tannehill, because those guys figure it out. That's how the offense got so good last year, was because they were going above and beyond to figure it out. Even if it meant breaking NFL COVID protocol, they were doing whatever they could to be able to figure things out. I totally trust that Ryan Tannehill and this receiving core is able to do that. The thing is just getting Julio on the field. He did miss some time last year. He only played in 7 games, and that was the biggest concern coming here. You don't get healthier and you don't get younger as your career goes on. So that, to me, is a bigger concern than anything. And even then, I fully expect them to be healthy. Hearing you say that they looked good in training camp, everything that I've been told about how they've looked in training camp, especially these last day or two, where they're running around like they're getting work in, and it's what you expected to do. Julio Jones is one of those players, like you mentioned, when you're the best receiver of an entire decade, when you own an entire decade of the NFL at a position, you've mastered the art. You just need to keep yourself in shape and be ready. And I would totally trust, Julio Jones to be able to do that.
Yeah. If you want to get in on the conversation, the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. One guy I will say is a bigger concern who I think could catch a lot of passes from Tannehill. Josh Reynolds is someone I'm looking at right now who has been banged up, told us it was an Achilles, looked real fast and looked like he had a nice stretch, and then like maybe another setback, and starting to wonder with him a little bit. How are things going for him? Is he going to be able to do anything Saturday or next week? Because, at this point, I would say Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers have a better chance of contributing. But the point is they do have some guys behind those top two who have really emerged. And Ryan Tannehill is going to have options.
Those are going to be some hard roster cuts at the receiver position.
Incredibly difficult. So we're going to get into that a little bit more in the next segment and talk about a guy who yesterday in practice I think took a step to me towards cementing himself on this team. Next on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back, Robby and Rexrode. ESPN 102.5 The Game. Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell in for Robby Stanley, Michelle Knezovic, intern Will, and we're talking Titans. We got a big Titans-Bears tilt. We got the one chance for Titans fans to watch the Titans in the preseason, 6 o'clock Saturday, Nissan Stadium. I will say the thing that I'm flat out most excited about. Can you guess it?
Okay, it's got to be watching more Matt Barkley snaps. That's one.
That would not be it.
Okay.
I mean, he's been fine. He's been pretty good.
Sam Ficken be kicking.
Well, we are going to talk about Sam Ficken.
That's one thing I'm excited to watch about or to see. And Justin Fields.
Well, that's it right there.
Playing a whole half of football. The train wreck that is the quarterback history for the Chicago Bears. Finally getting their savior, their golden calf. Getting to see what he's about. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch him play. I mean, we're going to get a half of him. So, and I think that's good for the Titans defense. Whoever's out there.
You want to hear the pressure that's on Justin Fields? Patrick Finley came on Darren Donick and Chase yesterday. He's a Bears beat reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times. Does great work. Was talking about Justin Fields telling the fans during training camp practices to stop chanting his name while Andy Dalton's taking snaps. That's where we're at right now. No one is in a more can't win situation than Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't if Andy Dalton rather starts the regular season, it could get ugly.
Yeah. Well.
Really ugly
yeah.
fan base.
Well, Justin Fields was asked that after the last preseason game too, about basically they're booing Dalton, they're cheering when he comes in. Look, the number 2 quarterback is often the most popular person in an NFL city, but especially if the number 2 quarterback is the hotshot rookie. And QB1 is a retread who should be a QB2 somewhere. I mean, it's like this is
in a franchise whose last success came from someone that was Rex Grossman at quarterback.
Yeah, that too. I mean, it all combines for like. Of course, fans gonna be like this. Now, I will say, I think there's always a case to hold off before you just throw the rookie quarterback out there. In some situations like Jacksonville, of course you're going to do it. You don't have a viable option really. And also, I think Trevor Lawrence is probably as NFL ready, as most quarterbacks coming in. The Jets, I mean, there's situations where, of course, you're going to do it. Deshaun Watson in Houston a few years ago, whatever. But there are cases to be made to like hold off a little bit. It won't take long though. It won't take long because Andy Dalton's not very good.
It's going to take them going 2-4 to start the season.
I don't think it'll be that many weeks.
It shouldn't be. I don't think it should be.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. But yes, that is exciting. But you hit on a guy who I think has a chance to. Not that I know this for sure. Like the Titans coaches are like, well, if he doesn't miss, he's our kicker. But Sam Ficken, some things have broken his way here. Obviously, it's terrible for Tucker McCann that he suffers the injury that he suffered in the preseason opener when he was kicking so well, the best I've seen him kick, and it looked like he was really coming into his own. But Ficken, I think, also pushed him and was also right behind him and now stands alone. Earlier this week, Ficken had a couple misses in his kicking period in practice, and I was like, uh-oh. Now it's like it's right there for you, and, it just changes the dynamic psychologically. I don't know. Or it's just a bad day, but you can't have bad days. You can't have bad days and win this job. And a kicking job in the NFL, you got to be consistent. And yesterday he had a great day. He was pretty much right down the middle. Different, they move him around up and down, left hash, right. They move him all over the place, give him different looks. And he was excellent. I think if he's good Saturday night, then it looks like there's a good chance Sam Ficken is the Titans kicker at least for 2021. How do you feel about that? If it's Nashville hot Ficken, which, by the way, Dennis on our text line, as far as I know, is the first person to come up with that.
Okay, credit to Dennis. That's good. Nashville hot Ficken is good. I came up with one during the break, the $1 McFicken.
There you go.
From the dollar menu, of course.
That could sell.
Dude, inflation is no longer just $1 anymore. It's tragic. But
how much is it?
Oh, it's like $1.30 something.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going on principle here, not logic.
Sure.
I think it's almost set in stone. Like think about it, how hard it is to find a stable kicker in the NFL with good range. I mean, he showed off that range in the Tampa Bay game. That 58-yarder had some yards to spare. I mean, there is some clear ability and Sam Ficken that obviously the Titans like, that I like just by watching. Consistency hasn't been there completely, but I mean, you said he looked perfect yesterday. All the tweets that I saw during this kicking battle have shown that he's probably been the most consistent of the 3 guys that have been kicking at Titans camp in training camp this year. And out of those 3 guys, he was the one with the most NFL experience. I mean, he's been in the league since 2017, and he's had some track record of success. I mean, he did have the 2019 year in New York for the Jets was, I mean, 19 for 27. You're making 70% of your kicks. That's not good enough. But
he kept his job amazingly.
But 13 of 15 is the very next year because teams know that he can do it. And the Jets probably kept him around because it's hard to maintain a kicker in the NFL because kicking at times is also just incredibly random. You could have a kicker like Scott Norwood, who's one of the greatest kickers to play in the NFL, and then have him shank one to win you a Super Bowl when it matters the most because kicking at times can be random. It could also be all about mental fortitude. I mean, there's a lot more randomness in kicking than any other position in the NFL. And how many NFL teams, Joe, do you think are confidently thinking to themselves, man, I love my kicker? There's like 5.
You think that's it?
That love them? That, I mean, absolutely. That they go out in the field and you're like,
I think
okay,
the Super Bowl champions love the guy who should still be here.
They will until he misses a few kicks, in which,
well,
of course,
sure. But I mean, right now, you think there's 5 teams that are confident in their kicker right now
that love them. I'm using the L word. That love them. That if they miss a few kicks, you're not losing confidence in. Ryan Succop misses a few kicks. They might do to him what they did in Tennessee, or when he was in Kansas City. Kickers move around all the time because teams are also irrationally eager
that is true.
to move kickers. They are the ultimate scapegoat in football. It's so easy to blame the kicker for missing the kick, even though in some instances you shouldn't be relying on that kicker to win you the game. I thought what the Titans did, because the whole town was clamoring for Gostkowski to get bounced after the first couple weeks. He got back on track, ended the season strong, and was a reliable kicker for the Titans. Not everyone's going to be Justin Tucker. Not everyone's going to be Harrison Butker or Will Lutz. Kickers go through that kind of stuff, and you just find a guy who's got good range and can make about 85% of his kicks, you're going to be okay. And Sam Ficken has proven in a couple of years in his career that he can be that guy. I think no matter what happens, he could miss 1, maybe even 2 kicks on Saturday. I still wouldn't do anything to him. I just go ahead and tell him right now that you're the man. You need to be able to have that recharge too. Martin Gramatica came on Darren Donick and Chase this week because we were talking about the mentality that kickers need to have or what it's like going through a battle like that. And he says sometimes in his career he experienced almost burnout. You tried so much and you invested so much mentally to just win the job that once you feel secure when the season starts, you don't have time to be able to refresh and then prepare yourself for the season because you prepare to just beat the other guy in camp. I think if they just go ahead and instill that confidence in him right now, make him play a little loose, not like his entire season's on the line on Saturday in a meaningless preseason game, I think that's the guy you have moving forward.
Okay, so he just shanks stuff all over the place Saturday night, and you're like, that's fine, buddy. We're invested in you. We're confident in you. It's fine.
Who you calling?
Well, I mean, there's a guy who's like 10 miles down the road. I mean,
that's
not every NFL – well, I don't know, but not every NFL team has that luxury, and he kicked for you last year, and he has not announced his retirement. When he announces his retirement, I'll stop talking about him, but he hasn't.
Well, it doesn't sound like other teams are calling him. If
I don't know.
Gostkowski is gung-ho and ready to play some football right now, there are 32 teams in the NFL, and I already told you maybe 5 or 6 are in love with their kicker, that if they miss 2 or 3 field goals in a game, aren't cutting 24 hours later.
Well, but Gostkowski was very up and down last year. I mean, they only win in Minnesota because he has a huge day, but they almost lost in Denver because and then of course he hits the chip shot to win it. But I mean, he was he missed the kick that you got to make to send the Pittsburgh game to overtime. Then which I know was at least partially injury related, but it's not like everybody's beating down his door. But it does seem like a nice fallback plan.
It would be, yeah, of course.
If you don't like what you have in front of you, I would say that if it were to happen, it would have to happen like instantly, right? Like next week. You can't do the whole come in for game week and Steven. So
you don't want to get yourself in that cycle either, because they saw what happened a couple of years ago. Whenever Succop went down, and you're cycling guys like Greg Joseph or Cairo Santos, and I mean, that's an
Cody
environment
Parkey.
that's an environment that demands perfection from a very imperfect art of kicking field goals. I mean, Gostkowski was great last year when you needed him at the end of the season because you stuck with him, and he was able to work through some of that. The best kickers are able to do that, and if you get irrational with cutting kickers and blaming a lot of your losses on them, then you're going to have that same cycle where you're just cycling every guy after every miss, and that is when it can get toxic.
Okay, so at what point do you get concerned then?
When he's missing him in the games that really matter. I mean, like say he starts off like 1 of 5. Okay, then it's a here we go again. But like if he's hitting these in training camp right now, if he's hitting 58 yarders with ease in the preseason game, I feel like you have a good reason to feel confident that based off of the last year he played in a full season in 2020, he was 13 of 15 with a long of 53. He hit long field goals.
Missed some extra points, but yeah, no,
who doesn't in the NFL
it's a
now?
positive trend for him. Last year is a step up. You wonder like, okay, so what did the Jets not like then? Why didn't the Jets want to hold on to him? But
the Jets. Yeah.
Well, that's true. And I mean, look, Cairo Santos. It's hard to argue when he went 0 for 4 in that 14-7 loss to the Bills in 2019. Like, it's hard to argue. Like, how could you stick with him?
Yeah,
but
there's games that
he moves on.
But
Again, but kind of to your point, he moves on, and he's been actually very good since then. I mean, it's been, and obviously Suckup. I mean, that's the one that hurts because Suckup came back. He wasn't healthy. He came back fast. He wasn't good, and now he just looks like the guy they had for years. And how we would have all these different things to talk about had that gone differently, but it has. So maybe Sam Ficken is the answer. We will see. I think Saturday is a big night for him. We're going to get a break here on Robby and Rexrode. When we come back, we're going to have Kayla Anderson from News 2 here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Second hour, Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic, intern Will. And before we bring in Kayla Anderson, I want to remind everyone it is our 10th anniversary today. 10th anniversary or 10th birthday?
Birthday.
I feel like birthday.
10th birthday. Yeah, like an
It's the 10th
anniversary is
birthday,
like,
yeah.
I mean, you could say it's like a union of 102.5 The Game in Nashville.
Anniversary would be like you being here for 10 years, I feel like.
The anniversary of the birth,
Yes.
which is basically what a birthday is.
Sure.
It's
Okay,
just
so
an
it's
anniversary. They're one of the same. Yeah.
So it's the 10th birthday. So I keep saying anniversary. I'll try to stop. But I want to tell y'all that it's cue to call. So be ready this hour. Daughtry, Ryman Auditorium, November 3rd.
It's not over. An all-time banger.
Cue to call this hour. And now we are very happy to bring in our friend, does an outstanding job on a variety of platforms for WKRN News 2, Kayla Anderson. Kayla, how are you?
I am doing well, gentlemen, ladies, and happy 10th birthday.
Yes, thank you, yes. And Neighbors today, by the way, Neighbors in Germantown is going to be a bash all day. So, if you're around, Kayla, if you want to pop in, I think we're going to be over there for a few hours. I think all of us will be at some point. So that should be fun. And what was fun, although except for the sweating yesterday, Kayla, was that you and I were standing there watching practice. Was that the hottest day yet? I think it might have been the hottest day yet.
I definitely think it was the hottest day. There was one other day early in camp that was also hot, but yesterday, Joe, I mean, I felt like I had gone in the pool 4 times, never dried off, and just then the rest of the day sitting at my desk. You know that feeling where you're just like, I'm so nasty. That's how I felt.
Yeah, like the stickiness afterward. Yeah, it was. And you're trying to imagine being like in, full gear playing football in that for 2 hours, which is. So I guess, at least we weren't in that situation. But this team right now, Kayla, obviously you've got the COVID-19 situation coming back again. I'm having these flashbacks to last year when I was like, man, I can't wait till 2021 when we don't have to talk about this stuff anymore and we'll be all past this and all about football. But what is your assessment of that situation? Where do you think things are going, with the NFL this year? Given that obviously a lot of vaccinated people are testing positive, and it's just not going to be as easy as we hoped.
Yeah, and unfortunately we still are in that situation because you're right. I think we were all hoping that this year would be I don't think we thought it'd be 100% normal, but I don't think we thought we'd be going through this again where every day we're waking up wondering who's been added to the COVID reserve list. And here we go again. That's exactly what we're doing. And it's unfortunate that the Titans have been in this situation not once but twice. The good part about it is that John Robinson yesterday said that 97 to 98% of the team is vaccinated or has the antibodies. So that's a good thing because these guys, they're not out as long and they're not getting as sick. And Mike Vrabel even said, his symptoms were not that bad. That's not saying that it's fun to get this or that you want to get this, but it seems like in somewhat of a weird way it's more under control, although you are adding some people to that list, and that list will probably maybe add a few more today or the next couple of days. But when it comes to the overall outlook this year for the NFL, I think we're going to unfortunately see this stuff happen because these guys are still traveling. They are still staying in hotels. Unfortunately, the Titans were in Florida, which is one of they have their rates, they're spiking in terms of COVID. And you heard John Robinson, he went out to dinner. He felt like he was safe, at least because he was vaccinated. But it doesn't matter. You can still contract this COVID-19 virus. And so it's just no matter what you do, you can't fully protect yourself. So we're going to see a little bit of these outbreaks here and there. But like I said, hopefully they won't be with these guys staying on that COVID list for long because hopefully most of these teams will be 100% vaccinated or somewhat close to it.
Yeah, and it has been a pretty, to me, impressive response since the NFL basically, put its foot down. The rates from then as we knew them and now dramatically different. So, and the point that Robinson made yesterday, is that everyone vaccinated who's getting this, it's like a day of light symptoms and then you get over it. I mean, it's working. It's just how does the NFL navigate this situation with cancellations and all these things?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could see a lot of conversation about that coming. So what about this team, Kayla? You've watched this team a lot, like I have this month, and we've seen, I think offensively a lot of people missing. Defensively, really mostly good health news with Bud Dupree looking like he's going to be ready, Caleb Farley looking like he's going to be ready. Do you have any different feel overall for this team than maybe you did before camp started?
Yeah, I feel a lot more at ease about the defense, and I think I'm on the same page as a lot of people when it comes to that specific category, because last year it was just, Kevin Byard said it himself, an embarrassing overall performance by the defense. And so to be able to see them, I think, really come out the first day of camp and set the tone of what they want to be this year, and have continued to do that throughout camp and throughout the preseason games that we've had so far, that's really encouraging to me. And I think it starts from having Shane Bowen actually have the title and know he has the title, because he's been different too. I mean, talking with him at the podium or just the way that he runs the defense, if you're watching him in practice, I just feel like he's out there saying, I'm the defensive coordinator. I've got a little mojo now. His guys see it. I mean, your players feed off of that. And when you don't have that confidence like last year, who knows what was going on? You could tell because it trickled down throughout the whole defense, and you saw it in the inconsistencies they had throughout the whole season. This year is different. I feel like they set the tone. They've kept that tone. Even when guys like Kevin Byard and Janoris Jenkins aren't playing in the preseason games, they're on the sidelines, and they're going all out watching these younger guys ball out. And that's what they've done. You got guys like Elijah Molden. These guys are young, but they're picking up the playbook fast. I think that's really encouraging, knowing there's more depth now on the defense at these different positions, especially the secondary, where we had some questions. Really good to see Caleb Farley in there and getting some work, because we didn't even know if he would start the season because of those back surgeries, and it looks like he's coming along. Still some stuff to learn. But the defense has really been the thing that's impressed me the most, you guys. And offensively, I think we just have to see them finally get on the field together. But I'm still okay about what is going on there transition-wise with new coordinator and a couple new pieces.
Talking to Kayla Anderson from News 2 here in Nashville. And Kayla, there's the thing I've been the most invested on in this Titans training camp is the cluster of wide receivers that the Titans have. It is a loaded room. There's going to have to be some really tough cuts made. Just now in my head, I think I counted like 9 receivers that have played either meaningful college football, meaningful NFL football. It's going to be hard, and you can't keep all 9, obviously. So what has been your observations of that wide receiver group? And out of all the tough cuts this team's going to have to make, who's the odd man out, in your opinion?
Yeah, and this is a bummer because you're right. This is the most intriguing position battle that we have in camp, and it has been from the start. And I give a lot of props to those individual wide receivers that are in there grinding every day and knowing that they have to be consistent and they have to continue to perform in camp to know that they still are in the mix. That's the first position group I go to right after stretch to see what they're doing, because there's just something about these guys. They have that confidence, and for the most part in these preseason games, you've seen a lot of them step up. I mean, you guys got guys like Mason Kinsey, which I think he's one of those that's on the outlying, the end of things, because he is a guy that has come in here and he's a little undersized, but then again, he's proven he's been consistent. He can play in the slot when you need him. He's been good on third down in these preseason games. And maybe could you work a guy like that into your system, have a little versatility with someone like that? But then on the other side of things, you see how Marcus Johnson has performed. You see how Chester Rogers has performed. And it's been pretty much phenomenal when it comes down to just guys that you didn't really know their name that well before, and then they've made a name for themselves in the past few weeks here just because of what they've done. So you look at the whole thing, and while I want to say Des Fitzpatrick if I didn't draft him in the 4th round, Don Robinson, I'm speaking from the words of him, I would say he's the odd man out. I just don't think they're going to do that. Mm-hmm. But I would probably have to say it's going to be someone like Mason Kinsey, unfortunately, which I hope that he can go on that practice squad and someone doesn't pick him up, and if someone gets hurt, he can come up. But that is one tough battle, and they've all been doing just a spectacular job at competing.
No doubt. No, I agree. It's going to be fast. I think you could even go. I think I had 10, but I don't know. I'd have to list them out.
Did you really?
Well, I mean, I guess it's Fred Brown. I mean, he's going to be in the outside. I think Kinsey will too. Cam Batson. Cam Batson's been a very good player, but I don't see him. making. It's
going to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be very tough. Kayla Anderson, News 2, thank you so much for coming on the show. And by the way, Kayla does it all. And also, tell us about your podcast real fast, Kayla.
Yeah, so I actually started this podcast up. Man, it's been like 3 years. I can't believe how fast time has gone by. But I do a podcast. It's Press Pass Podcast. It's actually a college football podcast, and I do it with my good friend Joshua Perry, who played on the 2014 National Championship squad at Ohio State. So we have a fun time touching all topics. We definitely don't hold back. So if you like college football, we do it all on that show.
Yeah, Joshua Perry is awesome.
Yep.
He is great. So check that out. And Kayla, if you come out to Neighbors, we'll buy you a pop. You do say pop, right? As someone who has worked in Ohio.
Of course I say pop. That's what we said back in Washington State, too.
I didn't even realize Pacific Northwest, too. I love it even more up there. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, good. Everyone should say pop. We can all agree on this. Kayla, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Kayla Anderson, News 2. Pop? Yes?
Oh, no.
Oh, get out of here.
Even though
Michelle?
most family
Joe,
members
we've gone over this. Soda.
No, it's not soda. Will?
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Will's thumbs down? What's he saying?
Do you say pop?
I don't say it, but they say it in Nebraska.
Oh, he doesn't say it, but they say it in Nebraska.
Well,
and
if they
we
say it
know.
in Nebraska, then you say it, Will. Come on now. Come on. All right, this is a movement. This is an international movement that it should be called pop,
Or
and I'm not going to
pop.
stop.
I grew up hearing soda pop. The combination of the two. That's Jamestown, Tennessee. I heard that a lot.
Yeah, that's what it. Right. I mean, the pop is the shortened soda pop
or soda.
Sure. So you could take either one of them, but pop is the better one to take than soda. We'll get more into that and react to some of what Kayla talked about with the Titans and a little bit on Mike Vrabel yesterday getting frustrated a bit with media and being a little secretive. We'll talk about that next on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Go to the game Nashville.com to check out Nashville's best deals. Time to save. Go to the name or the game. It's only been around 10 years.
The name Gashville.com.
Yeah. Time to save cash fast with Nashville's best deals. Right now, you can purchase a $30 gift card to Central Barbecue for only $15. Central Barbecue serves up slow-smoked Memphis-style barbecue at 2 area locations, Hillsboro and Capitol View. Smoke is our sauce at Central Barbecue. Other deals include half off a $25 gift card for Joyland in East Nashville. Get those deals now while they last at thegamenashville.com. Welcome back to Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic, intern Will. We just had a caller who supported me on Pop. What is it, Susan? Is it Susan?
Yes,
is that right?
Susan just called in. She said she's lived in Ohio and Montana, and she said, no question, it's called Pop.
Thank you, Susan. I mean, this comes up. I feel like this comes up about, once a month, once every 6 weeks. I'm not going to stop. I just want people to know I'm not going to stop. Shane from Ashland City on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, if my kids ask for a pop, I'm giving them a pop on the head. Come on, Shane. Come on, Shane.
What about a popsicle? Give them a popsicle.
Well, then ask for a popsicle. If you want a popsicle, ask for a popsicle. A Coke. Someone's, who is this on the text line?
Jordan on the text line.
Jordan says I say Coke. I do love the give me a Coke. What kind of Sprite? Okay.
Yeah, that confuses the hell out of me. Yeah,
it's
every
weird,
time.
But I like it. I like it way better than soda.
What?
Yeah,
Soda's more generic. You can say like anything's a soda. Soda is a class of things. When you tell me that you want a Coke, you're being specific. You're being very specific because that is a brand of soda.
Well, no, I understand, but at least it's just interesting. I find it funny. I find it amusing.
That one I never understood.
The thing I like about Pop also is, it can sort of double. Like, hey, we're going to go have a few Pops. That could mean not just sodas. Like, hey, we're going to have a few Pops out Friday night.
Joe, I've never heard that ever before.
Nope.
Somebody say, I'm going to go have a few Pops.
Oh, yeah. No,
that sounds like there's
a more
darker connotation there. I want to have a few Pops. Like that.
Well, I mean, it basically means having
dark.
A few beers, but it's just you're calling them Pops, It's like the bar that's called like the library. Where you go, like there's in a couple college towns I know they have the bar called the library.
I used to have one in Cookville that lasted
where'd you
for
go?
5 minutes.
Is that right? So there you go. Like, where are you going tonight, honey? Yeah, we're going to the library. I mean, so I'm going to have a few Pops. But regardless, it's the right thing to do, and not going to stop pushing for that. Meanwhile, let's go to Mike Vrabel. I think this is just awesome. Paul Kaharski gives me so much joy. I mean, I rip Paul, and we go back and forth and everything.
I'm sure he wouldn't have it any other way.
But sometimes just when he gets on something and gets like upset about it, it's very entertaining. And when Mike Vrabel gets upset at him, it's also very entertaining. So this whole thing to me, I can't tell you that I care a ton. I'm just going to be honest. I don't really care who's head coaching the team Saturday.
Absolutely
it's a preseason game.
Absolutely
I just. But you know what? Paul's covered the Titans for a long time. He wants to know who's running the operations of the Titans. And so he asked Vrabel, and we have the exchange here. It's wonderful. So that was Mike Vrabel and a nice exchange with Paul Kaharski. Again, I was thinking about this. I actually think that preseason games should have like guest head coaches anyway, right? Like, why not let, like, you know,
my God, yeah.
like, why not let one of your coordinators or even one of your position coaches be like, you be the head coach tonight. Let's give it a
Have
try.
some fun. Crowdsource your play calls sometimes. That could be fun.
Oh, well, you could, and that does happen sometimes.
It does happen
actually,
occasionally.
in preseason games.
Yeah.
I mean, so, again, it's just, I do agree with Karski, and, like, why is this a big secret? Like, what is the big deal about just telling us who? I don't care really who it is. It's, okay, like, to me, it's, like, worth a tweet. Okay, Craig Ackerman is going to be, you know, technically the head coach. It's a preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, again, like Vrabel, and he was asked later, you know, what about your evaluation? Are you going to be? Yeah, I mean, he's going to be watching, and then they're all going to go through the film together, and they're going to evaluate things like and primarily they are evaluating individuals because that's where we are right now. I mean, it's totally different, a preseason game versus a regular season game where you spend a week preparing for an opponent and you have a specific game plan, and it's just this is not that. So I don't care, but I do agree with, like, why is this a state secret? And it's just because, I mean, to me, it's just Vrabel just tells us what he has to tell us. It's like he was asked about coaches the other day, and he said, well, when we have to tell you, we will tell you. Now, he did confirm that Craig Ackerman is on the COVID list. He was asked directly about him. So if you ask him directly about something, you might get an answer. I do find it funny that it's like some big thing, you know, that we can't tell. But I also don't care. So basically, I just really appreciate this interaction because I found it hilarious.
Oh, it is really funny because on one hand, you have a question that like you said, it doesn't matter in the third preseason game. You're evaluating more so than anything. Anybody could probably just call those plays. I mean, these aren't for the starters. I mean, this is for individual evaluation. And then B, it's Coach Vrabel is being a little defensive about things that also don't really matter. It's an interesting petty back and forth, which is what makes Mike Vrabel fun in these settings at times. And he also, I thought about it too. He either A, is coming from the New England Patriots school of thought that all intel is valuable intel and you give up nothing, or B, he doesn't know what's going to happen, doesn't care because he knows that it's going to take care of itself. They're all adults in there. They can organize amongst themselves. His job will be to not call plays, but to evaluate his roster as is, take everything from the game he needs to, that he can watch on TV, or he can watch from the film cut-ups. There are people that do that for him, that cut these things up. I don't think he worries about it that much either, but it was a hilarious exchange, and I kind of wish we had more of those in these press conferences. Sometimes he does go on autopilot and will just give you a generic answer, but we finally got more. Some real Mike Vrabel yesterday.
Probably not.
Yeah, there you go. I was waiting for that. I knew you were going to bust that up, Michelle. Yeah, I mean, we'll have more. It's you know, you pick your spots. But look, I do think that there's probably some value in these situations for everyone involved in the operation to practice what they're going to do, right? But I mean, at this point, Mike Vrabel is pretty comfortable. On opening day, he'll put the headset on and he'll be the head coach like he has been now. I mean, he's a veteran head coach now. On the secretive part, there are a couple of things. One is it? I did think about like Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz to me makes the most sense
because he's got him or Jim Haslett, the guys that have the head coaching experience.
But I don't even care about the head coaching experience. Again, it's a preseason game. Yeah. I mean, everybody has their units. This is not. There's not a ton to this. I mean, the play callers are more right? I mean, the defensive and offensive play callers are constantly. I mean, you know, you can overrule things, you challenge something. But Jim Schwartz it makes sense in terms of convenience because he doesn't have another area.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have, like Jim Haslett has linebackers. Jim Schwartz. But if you did say, like, Jim Schwartz will be the head coach, is there any concern on the Titans side that it's like, then people are going to be like, oh, that's right, Jim Schwartz. Because there's the whole thing with Jim Schwartz is coming in and it's going to be a coup and he's going to be the D coordinator halfway through the year, which I don't buy.
This ain't University of Tennessee.
I've never bought. Yeah, I mean, I think Jim Schwartz genuinely, he has been very under the radar. Very under the radar. I think genuinely he wants to stay in the game. He's scaling things back for this time of his life. At some point he'll probably ramp back up and be a coordinator somewhere. He's not here so he can try to wiggle his way into a job.
Steal someone else's.
Nah, I mean, it's just, you know, but again, if you say for a few days, hey, Jim Schwartz will be the head coach Saturday night, do you not want that conversation? I don't know. that's something that came to mind. You could name someone now also, and like that person could get on the COVID list in the next couple of days. But again, even if that's the case, okay, then we'll know that they're on the COVID list. I mean, it's I just think it's somewhat petty, as you said. Makes it somewhat fun in the middle of August as we wait for the season to start. And ultimately, this game is not about head coaching. It's not about who's doing that job. It's about evaluating these players and seeing if they can make some advances there. And speaking of that, yesterday there was buried in all this news, there was an item of news that I think is actually a much bigger deal than people are making it, and we're going to make it a big deal next on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back, Robby and Rexrode in the Wholesale Inc. studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell in today. I'm actually disappointed. We started off with hoops. We are going to get to some hoops later.
Oh, yeah.
Elijah Campbell is.
Over.
I think Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic may be the two biggest hoop heads here. Although I'm a hoop head too.
Yeah, Joe, you were a close third, but Elijah and I are tied for first. How about that?
Yeah, I like
no
it.
second.
Yeah,
is that fair?
There's no second. Yeah, we're in a tier of our own here of basketball.
1A, 1B. You're like Julio Jones and AJ Brown. 1A, 1B.
Exactly.
Hoop heads.
I'm AJ Brown though.
Okay, I'll take Julio Jones.
There we go.
I'll dominate the 2010s.
Nice.
I peaked early.
On the text line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, got a lot of people still mad at me. So here's one. Joe, you do know that you live in the South, right? Stop trying to change it. We don't want Tennessee to be like all these states people are moving away from. Now, listen, I'm just saying pop is the way to go. It's one syllable. It's more efficient. And again, as I've laid out, it's versatile. Hey, a lot of my childhood, my high school years were in Virginia. I went to Virginia. I picked up y'all. I still say y'all all the time, okay?
Yeah, there's some natural y'all
in
you.
You
It's
pick
not
up
forced.
Yeah, you pick up things when you move, and you know what? You can bring things with you too. Why can't we share ideas? Why can't we share vernacular and just make the world a better place? I think if we all say pop, the world is a better place.
I just would like to point out that we do have a Twitter poll. So if you feel strongly on whether you say soda or pop, I just want to say and throw it out there, we got like 80% soda right now, Joe, and we got about 70 votes. But a lot of people commented and say they say Coke or cold drink.
Well, we got a text. Yeah, here's a texter who says, growing up in Tennessee in the 50s and 60s, the sugared bottled beverages were called either cold drinks or soft drinks. Again, 2 words. Just give me pop. Pop does it.
See,
I'm trying to make things more efficient. Life moves fast.
Yeah, we're getting thrown a lot of stuff here. But if I have to rank them, pop would naturally be second to me because I know a lot of people growing up would say it. Soda to me is just what feels a little more correct. However, the only answer I just will not accept is calling things Coke that aren't Coke. Pepsi is not Coke.
Right.
Quite the opposite.
I'll have a Coke. What kind of Pepsi?
Like, because we had a texter on the text line says Sprite is actually a Coke brand, so you can slide. And then I responded with, but it's still not Coke. If you ask me for a Coke and you get a Sprite, you get a Coke, don't be mad that you didn't get the Sprite that you thought you were asking for.
I need to retweet this poll because I still have like a lot of like Michigan State followers. I need some Midwesterners.
Joe is rigging the poll right now.
No, I'm just sharing it. I'm just sharing it. Whatever happens from sharing it happens. Oh, here we go. Yep, there we go. Come on, people. Help me out. It's still very early.
Dennis on the text line says, more efficient. What am I going to do with all that time I saved by saying pop?
Well, you can drink more pop.
That's true.
You know?
I don't even drink soda, so.
Talk less, drink more.
Pop,
I should stop.
Beer.
I should stop. I drink so much Coke Zero. It's like after the coffee.
This one,
yeah, after the coffee, you transition to Coke Zero. Just a lot of caffeine, but I love it. So let's get back. Yeah, let's get back on the Titans. And this is something that, again, was very easily lost yesterday, right? I mean, you've got Ryan Tannehill going on the COVID list, along with 2 other players. Jeff Swaim, also, by the way, a guy who's going to be a tight end for this team. You've got John Robinson addressing the media and really making a plea for the vaccine, talking about how effective it has been in his locker room and about how he knows of 2 people this week who have passed away, and calls it, says the vaccine is life-saving. You had just all the other football things going on, Kevin Byard talking, a lot of stuff happening as offensive assistants, but I think not many people were talking about something that I've been waiting for. I've been talking about it quite a bit on this show. Aaron Brewer has passed a physical and is available. Listen, Daniel Munyer has had a rough camp, and it's been sort of exacerbated by the fact that he's the only guy snapping the ball the entire camp because Ben Jones has been hurt and Aaron Brewer has not been seen until like now. So I think Aaron Brewer is the backup to Ben Jones. I think Aaron Brewer is also an effective reserve at guard, and even to the point where, if he's fully healthy, he can come back and he can play like he did when he has played for this team. I think you even feel a little better if your Titans move, focusing Dylan Radunz on right tackle, which is his destined spot. And right now, Dylan Radunz is, a backup guard. I mean, he's been working at left and right guard. He's also worked at right tackle, of course. We've seen it in the preseason games. But Aaron Brewer gives you a viable backup to Ben Jones, who also is starting to be out there. And we know Ben Jones is getting up there. He's been hurt quite a bit. He fights through stuff. He finds a way to rally on game days. But last year, he was hurt a lot of the year. He's been hurt most of this camp. Aaron Brewer gives you, to me, a really important fallback there. And it's a guy who I think you could absolutely see this year on the field for the Titans, and you should feel okay about that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You provide some familiarity, too. And what's the one thing with offensive lines that you really need to work on in training camp the most? That's the continuity and the chemistry of the line together. Obviously, you can mix and match certain pieces. You can move some things around like they have with Dylan Radunz. That kind of experimenting happens all the time. But someone who's been in the room, been with those other offensive line mates like Aaron Brewer, is just going to naturally have more success unless the talent gap between those two is significant, between Maher and Brewer. And I don't think the talent gap there is that significant. I think
there is a gap, though.
There's a gap, and they're relatively similar players. I think Brewer's better, but I mean, it's not. I don't think it's that significant of a gap that if it was the other way around and that familiarity that Maher had is the same that Brewer has, you could maybe interchange them. I think part of the struggles he's had is being on this new offensive line that is doing a lot of shuffling. I think the consistency of having somebody who's been in that room before, been on the same offensive line with guys like Taylor Lewan, Roger Saffold, all those guys is going to be beneficial to him, despite some of the Dylan Radunz shuffling, which has been one of the more underrated parts of training camp to me, is seeing where they're going to play him, because I do believe firmly that he is going to see a lot of time at different positions this year.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that. I think certainly that would be a good outcome for him, for them, having spent a second-round pick on him. Now, Kendall Lamb has now come back into the fold. He actually talked to us yesterday with a huge brace on that left elbow. I mean, like the brace on the left elbow must have weighed 80 pounds. I mean, I'm exaggerating like I often do, but it's a big brace. And, Kendall Lamb hurt that against the Chiefs in the playoffs last year, and that's what he re-aggravated. It's funny because the day he went down, I swear I saw him limping and looking at his foot. And I'm like, oh, so he hurt his foot. But apparently he hurt the left elbow. But he's now back. He's got the brace. He's back out there. He's fighting for that job. Ty Sombrilo is back fighting the job. I mean, the offensive line health has changed dramatically, really, just in the last week. A lot of guys we haven't been seeing now are out there, which I think is good. But Radunz is it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do with him Saturday. Again, he's gotten a ton of, to me, the moving around, you cross-train him. You want a guy to be familiar, left guard, this side, that. You have different steps. Do as much work as you can do for a rookie. Get him ready. But the preseason games tell me that the Titans want him to push to be the right tackle. And of course,
yeah.
I mean,
that's why you invest a second-round pick in a guy like that.
That's what he's drafted to be. So I assume that's what we're going to see Saturday. I mean, the big concern here is that, okay, he's not ready. Now, Lamb's banged up, and Lamb's, been a career backup for the most part. Sombrilo's been banged up too. He's back now, but he's not. If you have three not great options, like you like competition, you like depth, but you really need one of them to emerge. So whatever reps whoever gets Friday night at right tackle, those are worth watching if you're a Titans fan, because you have to shore up that spot. You shore up that spot, and I think you've got a really, really good offensive line potentially in 21. But I don't know what that spot's going to look like right now.
Yeah, and part of me does think that's kind of where Radunz is going to end up. I think one of the reasons why having him on the team right now is because you do have a banged-up offensive line, a history of it being banged-up offensive line. It's not one of those positions in the NFL that just gets healthier week after week. You're going to need somebody who's going to be good at multiple positions, and that's what Dylan Radunz is. Now, in the ideal world, him being your right tackle for the future makes a whole lot of sense. But he might be one of your more versatile offensive linemen right now. that's what to me has been the most interesting thing about him is that type of versatility, where they're playing and what times of the game in the preseason games, these first two that they've been playing him and where at. But I think that's where you're going to see Raytons a lot this year. You're going to see him at guard and tackle, and that's one of the reasons why you not only invest in that second rounder to have maybe a right tackle for the future, but for a guy who can solve some problems for you this year in weeks, 6 through 18?
That's right.
Once the injuries start piling up, because they're going to happen.
18 weeks, 17 games.
I had to think about that.
That was
really
good.
did.
Good
job.
That
was tough.
Yeah, I mean, every time I'm like, they're going to be a 12-4. Oh, I'm sorry, a 12-5 team.
Or will they be 13-4? That extra games,
that too.
How much of a difference is that going to make? I hate it. I'm not going to get over
I will
that
always,
anytime soon.
I will always very much hate it. All right, when we come back, we're going to call some shots. So get into it if you'd like to. Get into the action. Call your shot Friday on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, 615-737-1025. And we will all call some shots next on Robby and Rexrode.
The sports weekend has arrived. You know what that means.
Shoot your shot.
It's time for Call Your Shot Friday with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And that's right. It is Call Your Shot Friday here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 1025 The Game. We call shots. Man, I mean, what else can I say about it? We make bold predictions about the sports world. They can be short term. It can be long term. Problem is with the long term, you got to remember. I mean, Elijah, you got some MLB. You got some MLB shots that I don't even remember what they are.
That I'm about to throw away in this segment.
So you've got to remember that stuff.
Oh,
so,
I remember.
Like today, I'm keeping it very much I'm going to keep it very short term. I try to, spread things around a little bit, but I'm going to keep it short term. But you can certainly, anybody want to call a shot, text us on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com 615-737-1025. You can go long term if you want. I'm going to keep it short term, but I'm going to first of all review last week's called shots. Okay. Let's go to my called shots. 1, Caleb Farley will play tomorrow. Ding, ding, ding. I got that one.
He did.
Racy McMath will catch a touchdown pass from Matt Barkley. I did not get that one. Now, Matt Barkley did throw a touchdown pass to the other rookie, Des Fitzpatrick. So I was in the neighborhood, but not to Racy McMath. I had Sam Ficken will miss a PAT. That's a big nope. In fact, Sam Ficken
running away with it
was fantastic. And I had T.R. Tart getting a safety. I mean, he didn't get a safety.
Okay, that's ambitious. Much,
but it's
that
worth
one's really ambitious.
That's calling a shot.
I like that one.
Okay, Robby said Des Fitzpatrick will have 2 catches in the game. Now, someone quickly remind me. I know he caught a touchdown pass. Did Des catch any other passes last week?
He caught a couple, I think. Yeah, I think.
Did he?
I don't think that touchdown pass. This is only one.
I want confirmation that Robby got this shot right, but I think he did.
I feel good about him getting that one correct. I think I saw multiple Des Fitzpatrick catches.
So, yeah, I'm gonna confirm, but I think he's right. We'll make sure about that. Robby also said, look at this. Sam Ficken hits a 52-yard field goal.
Okay.
So I hit a 48 and a 58, right? So he basically split the difference there.
That'd be his average, wouldn't it? Off the top of my head. And I went to MTSU. Math's not my thing.
I think, 53 would be the average. 53, okay. Right? From 48 and 58?
You might be. I'm trusting you to do the math because I can't do it.
Michigan State, it's, basically the Harvard of East Lansing.
Yeah, unless you play MTSU in basketball.
That's right.
People don't forget.
Boom. Blue Raiders, baby. That was quite a day.
Yes.
In St. Louis, Missouri. Logan Woodside, 2 touchdown passes, Robby says. Did he throw any?
I think he threw.
Or was it?
Yeah, I think he might have thrown one.
See, the problem with that game, and we're going to see this again Saturday night, is like the rotating quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. So Barkley threw 2, Woodside threw 1. And Des did catch 2. So good job, Robby. 2 for 30 with the touch. And he also had 32-17 Titans over the Bucs. Hey, I mean, he had a pretty good feel for everything that was going to happen. It was 34-3, but that's a solid feel for what happens. Michelle Ficken makes them all. Ding, ding, ding. This has got to be our most successful called shot week.
Definitely.
In a while.
It never works out this well, does it?
Nolensville wins Little League World Series. That did not work out. Great run still for Nolensville.
Shout out Nolensville.
My hometown. And good job, kids.
Joe Rexrodes.
They did a great job. Great run. Now you got 2 long terms. So see, we have to remember these. Michelle says Braves are going to win the World Series. And she says that she, the commissioner, will win the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy League. So we understand that called shot. We won't forget that one.
Oh, we definitely will not forget that one.
So let's go right to you again, Michelle, and we'll start with you on your called shots for this week.
So I'm going to go Braves again. You just made me think of one after I forgot I called that shot that they were going to win the World Series. I'm going to say this Sunday, Ian Anderson is on the mound, throws a no-hitter. Went to my high school, friend of the family.
Wow.
Gotta shout him out, okay?
That's a lot of pressure. I mean, he's your friend, and you're putting a lot of pressure on him to throw a no-hitter.
He's a phenomenal pitcher.
Yes.
Yeah, I got to see him on Tuesday at the Sounds game. He was on like a rehab thing. So I went on Tuesday, got to see him pitch. It was great. And I feel the momentum moving into Sunday. So that's my first one. Second one, Kentucky football. This is kind of a long-term one. Well, it is a long-term one. They go 9-4. They're going to win their bowl game, and they're going to go 9-4. They're going to have a very, very successful season.
By the way, real quick on them. Now, a couple years ago, obviously, they had like their best season in forever. Did they get to 10 wins that year?
10-3. Yep.
They did. Okay.
I think that was 2018. I just looked it up.
And somehow got rolled by Pruitt and the Vols. I still don't understand that. But anyway, yes, 9-4 bowl game. That's a bold prediction. I mean, I think they're a good team. They get some quarterbacking. I could see that happening.
Next one. I don't know if you all saw this, but Scottie Pippen Jr. He's using name, image, and likeness with Canes.
Yes.
Raising Canes. I'm going to say that Nashville gets a Canes soon.
Well, that's actually that can't qualify because that's been reported, right? I think.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Is Canes any good?
I know people.
I know people
who absolutely.
It is
just love it.
Bojangles Homer. Bojangles Homer. It's going to take a lot to convince me, but I am always willing to try it.
Well, I've never tried Bojangles, so we'll have to both try them.
Yeah, this has been reported, so you can get excited, but it can't be a called shot. In 2022, Raising Cane's will be here.
Okay.
So there you go.
Well,
so you're going to be right, but I just can't, you can't get the called shot for it.
That's fair. And then last one, next game, Yankees are going to lose. They're on like an 11 or 12 game win streak.
They're red hot.
So they'll lose tonight.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Yankees
then
will lose tonight.
those are mine. I think I have officially got on Ryan Porth's level with 1 million called shots.
Oh, well.
Filling in that role nicely.
Well, no, Porth has had some, Porth has taken up the whole segment before with his shots. By the way, Porth has texted into us, Team Pop. Thank you, Porth. Keep voting for Pop, people, on the poll. Elijah, your called shots.
All right. I got a few here, and I had to do a Memphis one because we did discuss the Amani Bates commitment. It's not going to be crazy because the NCAA tournament is way too random for me to call in August, but they will make the second weekend, meaning they will at least make the Sweet 16, and then everything that happens from there always is, as we know, increasingly random because it's the greatest sporting event on planet Earth.
They'll lose to Kentucky.
They easily could. Kentucky's loaded this year. That could be an incredible Elite Eight game, the John Calipari Bowl between Memphis and Kentucky. The second one, Georgia football. I'm doing some long-term ones just because.
Yeah, you got to get your shots in.
I got to get my shots in, and I'm here for a good time, not a long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Georgia to win the SEC. Okay. Georgia's the only team outside of maybe Texas A&M that is comparable talent-wise to Alabama. I don't see many losses on Alabama's schedule. They're going to destroy Miami week 1. I don't see any losses in the non-conference. The only time these two teams are going to play is when they clash in the SEC championship. Georgia should win the East by a mile. I think they're going to be more refreshed going into that game. And in a one-game setting, usually the better quarterback is what pulls you through. And Georgia might have the best in the SEC and one of the best in the country in JT Daniels.
That's a bold statement right there. That's a shot right there.
Yeah, exactly. Give me JT Daniels, Heisman dark horse, to win the SEC. And then, speaking of Ryan Porth, this one's a little more recent because Ryan sent me a text today saying the Reds have a 73% chance. Our beloved Cincinnati Reds have a 73% chance to make the playoffs. As of this morning, so I'm going to throw away my called shot from March that said the Padres are winning the pennant, and they're not going to make the playoffs because my beloved Cincinnati Reds will seal the deal here in this next month and a half, the last, 32 some odd games of the season. They will be in the playoffs, and Ryan and I have talked about, and he's talked me into it, that in a one-game setting, with that hitting lineup for the Reds, they can maybe do some damage on the Dodgers. They don't have to face all those pitchers like in a series. In a one-game setting, the Reds could beat the Dodgers and weasel themselves into the NLDS for the first time since I was in high school. So there you go.
All right, there you go.
The Red Legs, baby. We're back.
I like it.
I'm back on board.
We got some Memphis, some Georgia, some Reds there, some long-term called shots. I'm going to save I'm going to go through mine quickly and get to the text line for people calling shots. But I'm going to save my kind of long-term college football stuff for next week with the season going. Although, I just thought about this. I'm going to be in Knoxville Friday, and the Vols will have just played. But well, that's all right. We can still call shots after that. You know what? Since that is the case, actually, I'm going to call a Vols shot. So Joe Milton, this is not a shot that he's going to start. He's going to start. Joe Milton will start Thursday. He will be the Vols' #1 quarterback. But the called shot is that Joe Milton will have 2 touchdown passes, 1 interception, and 1 rushing touchdown. Okay? So there you go. Very specific.
Okay, that is very specific.
2 touchdown passing, 1 pick, and 1 rushing touchdown for Joe Milton. And overall, it will be an encouraging debut for him. On the more short term, Mekhi Sargent, I'm calling the shot. He is going to make the 53. I can't sit here and tell you that I'm super confident, but I'm going to call that shot because that's what calling a shot is. I think he's going to edge out Jeremy McNichols. I think he's going to have another good day Saturday. and I think the Titans like him, and it's all about trusting him in pass protection, but I've got him making the 53. And Ola Adeniyi is going to sack Justin Fields Saturday night.
Okay.
And also be on the 53. Now, he was already on my 53 I wrote for The Athletic this week, but so I've already, called that shot in writing. But the sack of Fields and making the 53, he is number 92, kind of a guy we don't talk about a ton, but he's had a really nice camp, and I think he's going to be an asset for this team. A few real quick on the text line driven by What'sKindOfHoney.com. Dennis, Logan Woodside holds off Barkley for the backup job. I don't know if that's a big shot, but I think that could certainly happen.
It's a mid-range jumper. Yeah.
Paul says, called shot, Robby leaves sports radio to fulfill his dream of working at the Buzz Lightyear ride at Disney World.
I love that one.
I actually, that could be happening as we speak.
Or being Buzz Lightyear at Disney World. Or being in the suit.
He could be applying right now, for that. Merle from Lebanon says Rashad Weaver has a sack. I mean, that's a fine prediction. I want some shots, people. I want some shots. Tim from Lewisburg says, I will win one of the giveaways today for the 10-year birthday. Okay, I guess that's a shot. You can't necessarily count on that.
Love the confidence.
Speaking of that, we got more on that, and we also have Teron Davenport at the top of the hour coming up here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome in, third hour, Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode here with Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic, intern Will. Robby is still having fun at Disney World. And speaking of having fun, a guy who has fun every single day, especially because usually I see TD when football is involved, especially when there's football at hand. Tron Davenport, presented by Freedom Tire Guys, ESPN NFL Nation, and Freedom Tire Guys at Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at freedomtireguys.com. TD, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Good morning. Good morning.
So, TD, before we get into the football nitty-gritty, I want to get your take, your assessment just on what we're seeing now. We're seeing it here. We're seeing it a little bit elsewhere. We're going to see it elsewhere. We're going to see it at other times of this season. You know, we're seeing a vaccinated players and coaches test positive for COVID-19 or be put on the list because of their close contacts. And, look, I mean, for me personally, it's just been kind of a depressing week. There are more serious things with this disease, of course, but just it feels like last year again, and I really was hoping we wouldn't do last year again. But where are you right now on all this stuff?
Yeah, it is starting to feel like last year again. It's kind of frustrating, when you see some of the things happen, especially now, like there's adjustments now, whereas we can't talk to the players or coaches coming off the field, and that's just valuable as far as getting insight or better understanding of things, and that's been taken away. Another thing that's frustrating is just seeing the blame game. I don't think that was necessary. How the Bucks try to blame the Titans for the Ryan Suckup testing positive, because as of right now, the players that he went to dinner with have not tested positive. So you end up kind of looking silly, when you point fingers and you're incorrect. And then you have Bruce Arians making the comments about the Titans came here and they learned their lesson. That's not what it's about. I think it's about working through this situation. And I didn't like that, but yeah, it's messed up because things are just kind of reverting back to how they were last year, and it's just like the progress that was made is not for nothing, because there is still some progress, but it just isn't the same as it was. It's how promising it looked at the beginning of camp.
Well, I'm glad you said that about Bruce Arians. And look, I appreciate Bruce Arians and how he approaches this in general. But you're right. There is no need for any blame game right now. I think that lesson even was learned last year largely around the Titans story. And he has no idea how whatever happened. And if you want to talk about learning a lesson, yeah, maybe the lesson is to never go to Florida if you can help it. I mean, I agree. I don't understand why he feels a need to jump to that conclusion and try to have someone be to blame for this. I mean, all of this is because the virus is not letting things go back to normal. The virus is mutating. We've got the variants. I mean, look, come on. It's just about trying to work together and make it better. So I'm glad you said
exactly.
that. So, TD, on this team right now, heading into Saturday, I mean, look, I'm excited to see Justin Fields out there, see the rookie, and see whoever is out on this Titans defense, play against them. They got to look at, the quarterback breaking the pocket and making plays with Felipe Franks a couple weeks ago, which I think is good for a defense, to get different looks. But what do you expect there? And do you think that we're going to see – so far we've seen a lot of defensive regulars – at least get some time, and some of the guys in the back end get significant time. Do you think we're going to see that again, or do you think it's scaled back because it's the last preseason game?
I think you'll probably see a quarter of the guys, and it'll be good for them going against Justin Fields because that gives them a look and just kind of like a slight simulation against Kyler Murray in Arizona for the season opener. So that'll be a good option for them. I like I said, could see them playing a quarter, but there's still spots to be earned, right? Elijah Molden is continuing to put himself in a situation where he could end up being the starting nickel corner, when the season opens. So you'll see a lot of time from him. I think there's still stuff that we worked out on that defensive line, right? You got Naquan Jones, who is, steadily improving, and there's some other guys there too. So that's an area to work out. I look forward to seeing Monty Rice and go out there and see what he could do. He had a good week of practice after he came back in Tampa. So those are some of the things that I'll be looking for. And, yeah, I think you'll see the starters.
Talking to Teron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation Titans reporter, my man TD. Listen to this week's Talking with TD. Great episode. Love the conversation that you had with our guy Chris Sanders. Chris had some very interesting thoughts on the wide receiver battle. To me, it's the most intriguing thing in Titans camp right now. There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of talent here, and there's going to be an odd man or two out that can make a roster somewhere else. One of the names that Chris threw out there might have been Josh Reynolds. I don't necessarily think Josh Reynolds will be a casualty of this loaded wide receiver room, but what's your assessment as a former wide receiver yourself on this group right now, and what type of hard cuts are the Titans going to have to make to this room?
Yeah, I look at that receiver room as clusters, right? And you have your two guarantees in A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. And then Josh Reynolds is kind of like in between. But then after him, you have your set of two sets of threes, the Smurfs, that's what I call them, right, with Kinsey, Charles, I almost said Charles Rogers. Looking at Rexrode, going back to Michigan State, right. Chester Rogers, as well as Cam Batson. And then, those are your smaller guys that double as returners. And then you have the other three, Racey McMath, Westbrook McKinney, and Marcus Johnson. And they're guys that double as gunners. And one of the things that Rob Moore said yesterday was, if your name is not A.J. Brown, Josh Reynolds, or Julio Jones, or actually he just said, if your name's not A.J. Brown or Julio Jones and you're with me when special teams is going on, you're doing something wrong. So that tells you the importance of special teams. I think that's really what it's going to boil down to. But they're going to have a tough decision on Racey McMath, because you look last week against Tampa, he did not play a single offensive snap. So it's kind of clear that he's not really in the mix offensively. Is having him there exclusively for special teams, it's not going to be enough to push a guy like Marcus Johnson or push a Mason Kinsey off of the roster. I don't know that it will be. So I think McMath might be one of the odd men out. But I definitely feel Josh Reynolds makes the roster. I believe he's a vertical guy that it was just kind of locked up while he was with the Rams, because, Jared Goff's not going to throw the ball down the field. So I think Josh Reynolds is going to have maybe not a breakout year, but I think he's going to have stats different from what he's posted in the past.
Yeah, I like your point on the emphasis on special teams too, because that's going to be what, in my opinion, what gets Chester Rogers on this roster is his ability in the return game. But it's already been said yesterday. Mike Vrabel said in that press conference that Matt Barkley is going to be starting the game, and that we're going to have a musical chair session going on at quarterback for the entirety of the preseason finale against the Bears. In your opinion, do you see Matt Barkley starting this game as a sign that he might have gotten a little closer, or maybe overtaken Logan Woodside for the backup QB position? What have been your observations between those two guys ever since Barkley arrived to Titans camp?
Yeah, I think it's a sign that it's closer. It's closer than I thought it would be. But in practice, I mean, they're both making pretty good throws. Now, Woodside had a terrible practice against the Bucs on the final day of joint practices, but he kind of turned things around from there. I think they like the way Barkley kind of pushes the ball down the field a little bit. He made some pretty nice vertical throws against the Bucs, and we've seen him do it in practice. But surprise, surprise, Woodside did that a couple times this week as well. So it's real. They're neck and neck, in my opinion. I think just with Barkley starting, I think that's given him an opportunity that Woodside had, as far as starting before, and they're just going to mix it up that way. I think Coach Vrabel said every 2 series. or something along those lines. So they're kind of going apples to apples, by getting these guys with the same personnel going against the same personnel for the Bears by rotating.
Yeah, I mean Barkley, and Barkley get probably a chance to work with a few more regulars by starting the game than obviously he would have by coming in. So I feel like, it's all pointing to, like you said, TD, a neck-and-neck competition. I don't know if this competition is neck and neck, but I know Jeremy McNichols is banged up, and we know Darrington Evans is banged up, and I really like what Mekhi Sargent is doing. I know it's hard to trust a rookie in that role, in that third down role, when pass protection is such a huge part of it. But what are the chances, do you think, of Mekhi Sargent actually continuing this run and staking a claim at a spot on this roster?
Yeah, I think he's going to make the roster right now because McNichols is on the reserve COVID list. So he will likely still be there Tuesday. So, I think that's going to give Sargent an opportunity to make it. And one of the things with him, and this is why I asked him after the game about just showing that he's a well-rounded back. If you look at the Falcons game, when they were blitzing the heck out of Logan Woodside in that offense, he had a couple, especially on one, he picked up that safety and he stonewalled him, and Woodside was able to make the throw to Mason Kinsey for first down on third down. And then you look at what he did last week, from Matt Barkley, where he caught that touchdown. He was able to catch that ball and get into the end zone. So he's showing all aspects. He runs the ball pretty well also. So I think he does make the roster, but I just want to see what happens when McNichols comes off of the reserve COVID, because I know McNichols is a guy that they do have all of their trust in, and they do like him on third downs already because of what he did last year.
Yeah, and of course, Evans, I think Evans has a role and a place in this offense if he can be healthy, but that's unfortunately the story again with him is health and availability. So we'll see on that too.
Yeah.
Teron Davenport, brought to you by Freedom Tire, guys. Thanks so much, buddy. Appreciate it, and we'll see you out there tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure. See you tomorrow. And just to add one more thing on Sargent that I remember just now is they moved him over there to the group of returners. So don't be surprised if you see him return a kick, but he was back there returning punts as well as kicks in practice.
Good stuff. Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. And we will check that out tomorrow night. Titans-Bears. TD will be there. TD, thanks so much. See you tomorrow, and we'll react to TD coming up next on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 105 The Game. Nice. Nashville SC fans, join ESPN 94.9 this Monday, August 30th from 7 to 8 p.m. for NSC Backstage featuring Nashville SC players and coaches. Watch the show online via 102.5 The Game's Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and thegamenashville.com. NSC Backstage, brought to you by Camarena Tequila, the official tequila of Nashville SC. There's some great Hall & Oates coming in. And on our 10th birthday, not anniversary, our 10th birthday here at ESPN 102.5 The Game, it's cue to call this hour, and it's a big one. Rolling Stones, Nissan Stadium, October 9th. Cue to call this hour, and we've got one every hour all day long. And, of course, we're also going to be at Neighbors in Germantown. Mm-hmm. And who knows? You and I could be. We might. Who knows? We could start a brawl.
That's right.
Start throwing some chairs. It'd be like a Burt Reynolds movie. You never know what might happen over there.
I only go to bars for that specific reason. I only grew this mustache out so I can start fights at brawl.
Yeah, you look like you'd be in the movie Roadhouse, potentially.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm just only like, what? I was born like 15 years too late for that?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's our 10th birthday. I almost said 10-year anniversary. I was going to say, where were you 10 years ago, Joe?
10 years ago. Well, I will say that 10 years ago, I was, living in East Lansing, Michigan.
Right.
As I did for a long, long time. But that summer, we went to U2 at Spartan Stadium. Now, I think they played Vanderbilt Stadium in the same
combination.
Possibly the greatest concert I'll ever see in my life.
U2?
U2? Yes.
Really?
Oh, dude, don't even start with me.
I've seen them live, and it was all right.
When was that?
It was at Bonner a couple years ago.
Okay. I saw them.
It was about 2017,
I wasn't super excited when they came to Bridgestone, but then it was like, holy crap, they're unbelievable. But, hey, to each their own. It's fine. I think they're pretty unbelievable. And, they made a football stadium like a club at times. That's like that was the effect.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a great show. Anybody who went to that show, that tour, it was also, they played a lot of Achtung Baby on that tour, which is one of my favorite albums. It was the 20-year anniversary of that, so that was also a part of it. And it's also depressing that was 10 years ago, so thanks for making me feel bad.
Yeah, I was a junior in high school.
Yeah, also now even worse.
I was in middle school.
Oh, my God.
Let's keep piling on.
Wow, that's funny.
Let's keep piling on the pain. I also owe an apology to Dennis on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And he's right. Another texter from Lebanon texted, and I said Lebanon, and I totally know better. So I apologize, Dennis. Dennis says, luckily I'm listening with headphones so no one around me heard it. We don't want to anger the people of Lebanon. I know it's
Absolutely
Lebanon.
not.
Now, in my defense, I lived for 3 years in Saudi Arabia. I had friends from Lebanon, the country. Mm-hmm. I was close to Lebanon.
Yeah, it's actually pronounced Lebanon there.
So I have a little bit of an excuse there. But, yeah, I totally knew it was Lebanon. That was just me talking too fast, and I'm sure there will be more mistakes to come before we get done. But we're going to get back into the Titans here, Elijah. So, interesting. And, honestly, there's another mistake I made, by the way. Because TD's like, yeah, McNichols on the COVID. I forgot that he was on the COVID list. I knew he was not out there this week. And so, in my mind, he had some sort of undisclosed injury. He's on the COVID list. And so, actually, technically speaking, yeah, you would expect Mekhi Sargent to be on the roster. We'll see if that's adjusted or not. Now, Brian Hill is still a contender for that, too. Mm-hmm. I have kind of discounted him the way he's been playing. But I still think it's an important game for Sargent. And like TD brought up those great examples. There was that the particular play against Atlanta. It was a very good blitz, a very clean blitz, and he had to put everything he had into picking up, and he did. And the pass got off, and that's exactly what you're looking for. But Sargent is one of those guys who I just really like. Look, I think he's better with the football. He's a powerful runner, and I understand all the warnings about skill players on NFL teams in the second halves of preseason games looking good. I mean, Mason Kinsey kind of falls in this category. Mason Kinsey, all due respect to him, he is making a push to make this team. I mean, I can't just discount him. I don't think he will. I mean, he has played really well daily in practice. He's beaten the ones on defense in practice. So it's not just that. I still don't think he makes it because this is a loaded room. But Sargent also in practice consistently, and some of this is availability, other guys hurt, he's looked good. He breaks tackles. He runs hard. He's got a nice change of direction. He can one cut and really explode. and I think he catches the ball well too. I think he would be a better threat if you had to go to him at some point than a McNichols. That doesn't mean he's going to be slotted ahead of McNichols, because that word trust is just so important in this game, especially for guys in that spot on a roster.
Yeah, and you can obviously tell that they trust him because he's getting some first half carries as well, and he's an efficient runner, and that's really what I'm looking for in Titans backup running backs. Is you got to be efficient, you got to be able to do multiple things. Now, the thing is, with 15 carries, Mekhi Sargent was really, really good. How is he going to be when he only gets maybe 2 or 3? If he's getting just third down carries and he's in there to play pass pro, or he's in there to catch a couple passes, does he have enough versatility to be able to do that? At the beginning of camp, I thought that's why Brian Hill was there. That's why I gave the edge to Brian Hill. And from the sounds of it in the practices and from the way it looks in the preseason games, Mekhi Sargent has just been more effective than Brian Hill, and they have received Sargent's obviously got a lot more carries than Brian Hill has, but he's just been better with those. So I almost consider Brian Hill off the team. I have a hard time seeing him make it, especially with the way Sargent's been productive. And the one thing you mentioned, that play in the Atlanta Falcons game you mentioned, pass protection. That's a big thing. You're not going to ask these guys to carry the rock 10, 15 times a game, because they're not going to be asked to do that because Derrick Henry's back there. And if Darrington Evans is healthy, he's going to be getting those extra carries.
It's a big if at this point, but yeah.
It's a big if, and here's the thing. Evans has to be healthy enough to be able to carry the ball, 8 times a game maybe? If that.
Oh,
And that's generous. You just want him to be able to do other things and be able to make a defense sweat a little bit when they don't see Derrick Henry on the field. I think Sargent's just more likely to do that than Brian Hill at this point, based off of what I have seen in these preseason games and with a couple of the versatility aspects like pass protection and pass catching.
Yeah, and another thing, you brought up a point that I think it's always worth repeating with preseason games, like Sargent getting a lot of reps. Look, a lot of guys who play don't get any action, and a lot of times that's just like
because they know they're on the team. The coaches know that they're on the team.
So when you see like Marcus Johnson, and Nick Westbrook-Akina come out for a series or two and then they're out, that typically means they're in good shape.
It's one of two things. It's either they're in good shape and coaches know that they're on the roster, they don't need to see anything else, they know who they are as players, or they have no interest in seeing them on the field, and their time in Nashville wouldn't be much longer.
Right, but then usually that's not the guys who are starting, right? So
exactly.
Meanwhile, you have a Des Fitzpatrick who it took him a long time in these games to get on the field. Now, again, he took a step against Tampa Bay, and he took a step this week. He beat Christian Fulton for a vertical touchdown when Ryan Tannehill was still out there from Tannehill. So he's obviously a guy to watch. But the quarterback situation, I don't know that we're going to have any certainty after Saturday. I guess one of them could play way better than the other. I still favor Logan Woodside to be the 2 because I just think trust, again, comes into play there. I think he's a quote-unquote Vrabel guy. I just think, where he came from and how much he has worked to improve has endeared him to this staff, and understandably so. But it still is the question of, okay, you're missing Tannehill for a game or two. Which of those two guys would give you the better chance? And it's possible that Barkley is the answer. If you do cut Woodside, I think Arthur Smith would grab him right up.
In a
because
heartbeat.
Arthur Smith obviously worked with Woodside and feels the same way about him. So that's another thing to consider. But, hey, if you feel like Barkley, who has come on fast.
And has played better at times in these preseason games in terms of greater yards per completion, per attempt. I mean, Woodside's completing more, I guess, a higher percentage of passes. It's just like the distance of these passes.
Right. A little bit, maybe more ability to push down the field. Then you gotta like his chances to make this really interesting. Barkley has more. The unknown is undefeated. Barkley has more of a track record in the NFL. It's not great.
You know what he is.
That's why he's bouncing around. I mean, he's trying to get a job and hang on somewhere as a 2. Woodside, could he continue, the incline? Like, where's his ceiling?
I think
I don't know.
high. I mean, look at those Toledo. I was scrolling through his Toledo numbers.
You watching some action?
Yeah, his junior year threw for over 4,000 yards. Only played like 12 games. Like there is an upside to Logan Woodside.
Those Maxion numbers can be deceiving though.
They could be, but it's still a whole lot of fun. Which means he's got that in him. I mean, I get the Mac is a lot different than the competition Matt Barkley played at USC. Matt Barkley's been on a lot more NFL teams. He's been seen a lot more. I do think there is an upside to Logan Woodside we have not actually seen yet, but the Titans obviously know and love because other guys have come and gone. Logan Woodside stays. So that's why I'm with you in this camp that Woodside's the clear number 2, even regardless of what happens on Saturday against the Bears. Matt Barkley can go out there and look fantastic against the Bears' third stringers. I don't think it's going to change a lot with Logan Woodside standing in this Titans uniform, especially since you've had him as the backup for so long. It'd be weird to just kind of cut him over 2 weeks of Matt Barkley being in town.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, at least Barkley has made it interesting, and I didn't think that would happen. So credit to him on that. And it'll be interesting Saturday. Another thing, we're going to switch sides of the ball now. I think there's a really interesting situation brewing in a position that probably needed as much help or right up there as any on the team, and all of a sudden it's starting to look a lot better. That is up next on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Later this morning, it's your chance to participate in the Nashville SC Pick-to-Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. If you guess correctly which player scores a goal in the next game, you win a prize pack and a 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Nashville SC home game. The listeners have been crushing on that. There is no doubt about that. Let me tell you something else. Nashville SC and Atlanta United have a huge match tomorrow in Hotlanta. So join us for a fun watch party at Boom Ba's Craft Pizza and Tap House in East Nashville. You can enjoy great beer specials on Heineken. Plus, you can have a chance to win tickets to the next Nashville SC home game. Mark your calendar. Watch Nashville SC take on Atlanta United tomorrow afternoon, 2:30. Boom Ba's Craft Pizza and Tap House, 1003 Russell Street in East Nashville. That should be a blast. And we are back here on Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic. Intern Will, Michelle, jamming a little U2 for me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Joe.
Very good, very good. Yeah, man. Great show. I will never, ever miss U2 if I can watch them live anywhere. Ever.
I thought it was a good show. I'm not a huge U2 guy, but it was a good 35 minutes of my life that I spent.
35 minutes?
Well, I only stayed for 35 minutes. They were the headliner that night, and I'm telling you, when you're out in Bonnaroo, it is hot. Drinking and stuff all day.
Bonnaroo, right, yeah. I've never done Bonnaroo.
10 o'clock feels like 2 a.m.
Did you camp out?
Oh, I camp out every year I go. Yeah. It's
you going this year?
Going this year. I'm going for Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I am jealous because Foo Fighters are
there. Jason Isbell's there. Oh, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
I'm pumped.
Should be awesome. All right, so back to the Titans, and we've been talking a lot of offense. I want to talk a little defense. Because, and this is, most of the defensive developments are positive. It kind of reminds me of the football saying, everybody's got a plan to get punched in the mouth. So we'll see if it's still positive after like a couple series of Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins and company. I don't know. But
they can get you discouraged about how your defense looks pretty quick.
Yeah, but it has been positive. And I agree with what Kayla Anderson said earlier from News 2. Shane Bowen, it's a marked difference in Shane Bowen now that and I don't know that it's because he's been named defensive coordinator, but I think it's certainly a factor. And he said it. He'll say it anytime you ask him. Yeah, everyone knows now. Look to me. Also, he's not coaching a position. He's the head coach of the defense, and he looks confident. He sounds confident. And look, they've been responding. They've done what you want to see from a defense. There are limitations to what it means when it really gets going, but they've done what you wanted to see, and I think that some of the additions are really going to be helpful. And I think the cornerback group is really interesting. We got Christian Fulton yesterday, talked after practice, and I asked him just about moving inside. Other people asked him about moving inside, but I asked him, do you feel like because of last year's experience, which he did play in the slot some, that you could quickly transition? And basically he said, yeah, he feels like, he feels confident, to paraphrase, that, whatever they ask him to do that he can do in this defense right now. I don't know if that's on the table. Look, we've asked Shane Bowen that a few times, and it's like, it's not like he's saying yes or no, but it's, right now they're working where they're working. I think certainly they are not messing with Caleb Farley in the slot. He's an outside corner, and I think he's obviously as a first-round pick. They're intended number one corner for a long period of time if things work out. And he's starting to come on now. And what's interesting is what this corner group will look like, one, to start the season, because Chris Jackson is now hurt. He's been the slot corner number one the entire time. Well, now Elijah Molden is getting those reps, and he just had a terrific – he was, to me, the standout player of the preseason game at Tampa Bay, doing some stuff that you're just like, okay.
He probably made the play of the preseason for this team with the
going underground to get a sack.
For a sack, yeah.
That was pretty good. But I thought the blown-up screen was also just an example of, sometimes a player reads something a half second faster than the average player, and he makes that play.
He has an instinctual
advantage. And a lot of
advantage.
guys are just too late, and they get blocked on that play. And he tackled with physicality. He's not a big guy, but he tackles. So, look, I like right now, if you made me predict the starting corner trio, I would go with Janoris Jenkins, Christian Fulton, and I think I would go with Elijah Molden, although there's still trust to be built for that to happen, and we don't know if Chris Jackson comes back. Look, long-term is different than opener. But my question is, if Caleb Farley keeps coming on, and they are definitely taking it slow, if he comes on and it's like, look, this guy's got to play, what's the adjustment there? I mean, again, this is a good problem to have for the Titans. This is what you want at every position. You want too many good players, so you might need to move a good player to a less comfortable spot to accommodate the better player. That's a great problem to have, but I'm fascinated to see how it would play out.
Yeah, I expect to see a ton of Elijah Molden off the bat. And here's the thing, too, is the biggest thing with the secondary is there's a ton of young talent. Caleb Farley, not only is he obviously incredibly talented coming off this back injury, but he also opted out of the season last year. So he hasn't played a lot of football in the last 365 days. He hasn't played in 2 years even. Hasn't played a ton of football. Hasn't played a ton at the corner position. There's going to be an acclimation period that he's going to have to go through that's going to be longer than, say, other players who might have opted out of the college football season last year that are playing in the NFL. This season, Elijah Molden might be the most NFL ready rookie in this class, and he's showing that, and you can tell he's the son of an NFL player because of those instinctual advantages you alluded to earlier. I expect it to be a slow start. I mean, to be honest, I think the Cardinals will probably torch the Titans on that side of the ball. Whatever the over-under is, take the over for that game because I feel like the Cardinals defense is going to do something really similar. They might have a little more of a veteran presence in their secondary and on their defense, but a lot of guys who have not played with each other before are on the same team. They're going to have that same kind of period the Titans are going through right now. However, as the season goes along, I think there is a lot of room for optimism. The big thing is, in the secondary at least, is going to be Janoris Jenkins too, and then Christian Fulton's development from year 1 to year 2. Struggled at times last year, struggled at times even in this preseason. I thought Fulton made some really good plays in that Falcons game, including what I think was the most impressive PBU of the preseason period in Atlanta.
It was a very good play.
I mean, that's why you drafted Christian Fulton last year, was to be able to make those kind of plays. I think he's going to be coming along well. Halfway through the season is when I think you're really going to see the better version of him. It's going to be a slower start for him, too, I kind of anticipate. And Janoris Jenkins, as much as I loved him in New Orleans, you don't feel great if he's your number one. I don't think he'll be number one all season long because Fulton will eventually, or Farley will eventually take over that spot, and Molden being what Louis Riddick called the Jedi of the slot. I think he'll be that way all year long. I highly anticipate. I'd be shocked, I think, if Chris Jackson ends up, even once he's healthy, taking that spot just because you see so much from Elijah Molden already.
Yeah, there is trust, though.
It's already there. There is trust, but
there's a lot. There's more upside, certainly. With
more upside, and just when you see those guys on the field, Elijah Molden's a guy that you learn his number and you learn who he is very, very quickly. And I think that's one of the reasons why the trust is building, and it's going to build a lot faster than it was with 7th-round picks like Chris Jackson had to do.
Yeah, it's just, it's one of those things where do they have enough cross-training or comfort just saying who's the best three? I mean, is it possible that Christian Fulton right now is a better inside player than a Molden would be? I mean, again, I think Molden is he is designed to play that position, but he's a rookie, and you expect some rookie things from rookies. Like, is Christian Fulton, if Caleb Farley is like too good to keep off the field, is Fulton moved aside? It'll be interesting. There's so much focus, Elijah, on finally unveiling this offense on the 12th. Finally seeing A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, Derrick Henry's out there.
It's the sexy part of the team.
But, I mean, the defense, you've seen a lot of these guys, but Bud Dupree, potentially Caleb Farley, potentially Elijah Molden, Rashad Weaver probably mixing in for sure. In
He's
the pass
making a
rush,
case to be in that
Nico
mix,
Autry and Jeffrey Simmons of it's just I think it's just about as intriguing. Not nearly as sexy, but it is. It's going to be fascinating on both sides of the ball.
It's not gonna be sexy because the goal should be to just be a top 20 defense, be competent, and when you ask for competence instead of greatness, it's never going to be sexy. It's never going to be like, oh man, the big difference was the defense was like number one in football. It's going to be, the big difference was the defense got off the field on 3rd and 17. The bar has been set pretty low, but with an offense like that, you just got to be competent. And obviously that's not going to be the sexy storyline of this team.
But the thing is, and I'm not saying I expect this, but they could be a lot better than that. They could be a lot better than just an okay defense. I mean, it is possible. It's within the I think abilities of the players on that side of the ball. And, obviously it's a big year for Shane Bowen. I think they could be better. And if they are, then what does that mean? I don't know. Will the offense take a step back? That's still possible, too. I wouldn't anticipate that. But I do wonder with the offensive line, depth, health, things like that, it all starts there in football. Mm-hmm. And we're going to switch from football. We're going to get into some basketball. Look at the excitement in the studio.
Basketball.
We got to talk a little bit about this either title or train wreck or whatever in between that might be happening in Memphis, and kind of look at the rest of the hoops landscape. Next on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Yes, rocking. Look at some live U2 rocking now. I love it. Now we can't abandon Loverboy and Hall & Oates, but little U2.
And we've talked
good for the soul.
About a lot of U2 without mentioning the fact they still put songs on our phones no one asked for without our consent. I'll never forget.
Oh, my goodness.
Some people
I
don't
remember
forget.
that.
I forgot about that.
I remember that.
It's a good song, though. Come on.
That's the thing.
It's a good song, at least, right?
Oh. See, it would sound better if I put it on there myself than I chose to, but it was.
It just felt
forced. It was forced upon me.
Right.
Yeah. No one likes that.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to Robby and Rexrode, by the way.
That's right.
I'm so bad running the show. I'm so excited that I have 1 hour left.
Joe, give yourself some credit. You have been doing great this week.
He has made some growth from the first time that he's ran point on these Robby-less shows. I can see the growth here.
I just need the ball in the post, just like you.
That's right, yeah.
Which, by the way, we need to play. We might need to get media hoops going Sunday. So
that's right. Hey, Sunday's a good day to do it.
Be ready for that. And we might need to watch a lot of Memphis Tigers basketball this year.
I'll be watching a ton.
Look, I'll be honest. I will absolutely drive 3 hours there anytime I have a chance to go sit in on a practice this year for the Memphis Tigers men's basketball team with Penny Hardaway coaching, with Larry Brown as an assistant, with Rasheed Wallace as an assistant, and now with the #1 recruiting class in the country. And, I mean, there's it's just incredible, the chaos. So a Forbes reporter, so there was a report, and I need to, figure out exactly all that happened here, okay? But there was a report on the landing of Emoni Bates, who some believe could be a generational talent in the NBA someday. He's from Ypsilanti, Michigan, former Michigan State commit. I'm very familiar with Emoni Bates because when he committed to Michigan State, my 13-year-old Brennan immediately made me watch all of his high school. I mean, I was like, okay, man, I get it. But he's like, oh, look at Emoni in this game. He had 47. Look at this shot. I'm like, okay, calm down. There's a good chance he doesn't end up at Michigan State. You got to understand this.
Yep.
I will
say
early
in the game we make commitments as a sophomore in high school or junior in high school.
Yeah, and so he ends up at Memphis. He picks that this week. One of two players who has reclassified. Incredible, first of all. You think about reclassifying. So you reclassify, you get done with high school, and your high school was created by your dad for you to have a high school basketball team for a while.
Enrollment coincidentally of 12 people.
And you're done with high school and you're ready to go to college. Hey, I mean, good for you.
Life's fun when you can make up your own rules, man.
So he's going to Memphis, but obviously name, image, likeness. There is no way Emoni Bates plays college basketball without name, image, likeness and without the opportunity to really bank on name, image, likeness. And he should, and he will. So FedEx, is an obvious involvement here with Memphis. But now a Forbes reporter was talking about how, you still have rules of you still can't recruit someone with NIL. Now, look, personally, I think ditch all the dumb rules and let's just compensate.
That's going to happen. You know damn well it's going to happen. Yeah.
Let's just compensate people if they're incredible at things that make people a ton of money, whatever age they are.
Yeah.
I mean, Ricky Schroeder was a great child actor, made millions. Good for him. Silver Spoons, love that show. Whatever. It's America. It's the world. Let people be compensated. But in the meantime, technically it's a rule that you can't recruit with name, image, likeness as a promise, and apparently that may have happened here. And so the Forbes reporter has commented on, a report, one of the reports about his commitment that mentioned all the FedEx stuff and then sanitized it and got rid of all the FedEx stuff. So there's some interesting stuff to be found out there on that situation and whether there's going to be something jeopardized here. I'm going to go with the assumption that they're going to be able to play this year. I mean, frankly, I really hope so. I hope so for all of us who love basketball because it's going to be they could win it all and they could be a complete bleep show. I have no idea.
Yeah. Oh, this would be a fantastic reality show, like a camera crew following around this ensemble of players and coaches for an entire season. Like the intrigue with this team is they are so young. I mean, the two best players would be Emoni Bates and Jalen Duren, who both reclassified. Emoni Bates, who will not turn 18 until midway through January. They're going to play the entire bulk of the non-conference schedule with him still not a legal adult. Like this kid is so young. there's going to be some mistakes. Imani Bates had an incident in which a fight broke out at a high school basketball game. YouTube it. It was an interesting fight. Like, I mean, there's young basketball players will do things like that, and they're going to make things interesting. It might take him a second to get acclimated to the college game, but he's a guy I expect to be one of the top 5 or 6 players in the country almost right away with his skill set. Joe, you and I were talking about it before the show today even started, that like this kid can score at almost all 3 levels. I like to see him finish a little better around the rim because he's very frail.
He's got to get stronger. Got to get
a little stronger.
Which people keep saying about Kevin Durant, by the way. But yeah, exactly. I'm not saying he's Kevin Durant.
Exactly. Kevin Durant dunks in traffic, is able to at least finish with contact despite having that really small frame. I'd like to see Imani Bates finish in contact a little better around the rim. But like, listen, this guy can pull up from 30-some-odd feet with the quickest release. On a scale of 1 to Sean Marion, it's a lot prettier than Sean Marion's, but the release is just as quick. I mean, it's getting out pretty fast, and he's got a sniper from 3-point range too. And being 6'8" with a wingspan of 7 feet, guy's made in a lab to play basketball, and he's going to change that team right away because offensively they have been just atrocious to watch. Like, they're going to be so much fun, man.
It's going to be, yeah, as long as the whole FedEx thing doesn't cause a problem here. Jared Stillman is complaining. All caps tweet, Basketball Joe has to get basketball in August. Well, Jared, this is big news. That we're not just randomly talking basketball. This was news this week, it's big news. 2 of the
top 4 recruiting classes in college basketball reside in the state of Tennessee.
Well, look, I mean, it's going to be, you think about, and we're going to have Scott Corley on from Belmont at 9:30, athletic director Belmont. That's a top 25 team. Basically, everyone comes back. Tennessee, as you said, I don't know how good they'll be. I do know that Kenny Chandler is going to be must-see TV this year
#1
at
point guard in the country. Yeah.
And they have Fulkerson back, and there's a lot of guys that just don't know about it. I do think Josiah James could be one of the breakout players in college basketball this year.
They'll need him to
Got to stay healthy. Got to shoot with volume, shoot with efficiency, but I think he can be. But that could be a really good team. I mean, Vanderbilt gets Scottie Pippen Jr. back.
Mr.
Michelle,
Canes.
That's right. Raising Canes.
Right.
Got his Raising Canes deal. And that's an interesting team with a big guy coming in from Minnesota who could be really interesting. Absolutely.
Gave a lot of Big Ten teams
7-footer
last year.
Just back to the Memphis thing, like you talking about the youngest recruiting class and seeing NIL, very, very high-profile players. Scottie Pippen Jr., I mean, I know he's Vanderbilt, but signs with Canes. Like, it'll be interesting to see how these young players can balance the business, these huge deals. I mean, these are national companies. Balance that. You're 17 years old. You're also playing college basketball. You're a freshman. Like, there's a lot of factors. So like you said, Memphis could do phenomenal or could kind of not.
Yeah.
To say the
or
least.
not.
That's the best part. Yeah, Joe's right. It could be a total bleep show. I mean, this is a team that
Sheed could get them kicked out of college basketball. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, Sheed alone.
He could be one of the first assistant coaches to get double T just from the bench. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. But this Memphis team too is it's high ceiling, also an incredibly low floor. They play a lot of close games, and the way this team, Penny Hardaway, hasn't figured out the offensive side of coaching basketball yet because his teams have been atrocious when it comes to free throw shooting and taking care of the basketball. And those are 2 things that are pretty damn important if you want to be able to be in the top 5.
I mean, we need Memphis and we need Rasheed Wallace and Jerry Stackhouse. Again, I'm of the age where I remember not being able to miss a game when they played for UNC together. Think about Rasheed Wallace and Jerry Stackhouse on the same team at North Carolina. But now they can come together as coaches. That would be fascinating.
That would be a great non-conference game. Well, also Memphis is an American. They don't play. It's like they're in their ACC too. You know what I mean? So they need to. They need to be successful.
Memphis-Houston will be a bloodbath this year. I will drive. I'll go to Memphis to see that conference game.
So Jared's I'm sure they'll be talking about that Dallas Sports Talk Radio today, or New York or Philly or anywhere except Memphis. Basketball Joe. Yeah, okay, well, what state is Memphis in, Jared? Do we need a geography lesson, Jared? I mean, it is within this state. Am I right? They are playing Tennessee in a highly anticipated
in December
game at Bridgestone Arena in December. So
that we will all be in attendance.
I think it's relevant. In fact, I don't know. if we didn't have baby talk next, I think we can continue the basketball talk. But we're going to get a break and come back with the newest father we know, Adam Vingan, on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Final hour, Friday edition of Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic, intern Will, Robbie Stanley having a magical week in Orlando, Florida. And speaking of magical weeks, very, very excited to bring in our next guest and very appreciative because we are, I think, within the 24-hour period of Adam Vingan and Bridget Vingan becoming parents of young Arlo. Adam, thank you for joining the show. How are you doing? How is the baby doing? How is Bridget doing? How was it?
Hi, everybody. It was everybody's doing well. The baby's doing great. Bridget's doing well. I'm the one that needs the least attention. I'm doing well. We were able to get some sleep last night, which was nice. The baby needed some late night tests, and they had him in the nursery for a little while. So we were able to to finally get some sleep. It's been quite the week. We've been at the hospital since 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and baby Arlo was not born until 1:30 a.m. on Thursday morning / Thursday night, or Wednesday night rather. We're going home tomorrow, which is nice. But yeah, he was born 11 days early, so we weren't expecting him until Labor Day. But we're happy he's here, even if it took a little while.
And I love the hushed Vingan in the hospital voice. It's almost like Vingan is calling a golf match right now as he talks about young
soothing.
Arlo Jules Vingan. So first of all, I can talk loud still, but you're doing a great job of keeping it low key there, Vingan. First of all, I hope you understand, and now you have it imprinted in your mind, that as you tell people about your child, you must have the measurements ready. You are a stats guy. You got to have the stats ready. 6 pounds, 10 ounces, 19 3/4 inches. Boom. You got that. Also,
yeah.
I'd like to know about the name. Arlo Jules. Are you going to call him AJ? And what is the significance of those names?
Well, it's funny you mentioned AJ, because I was talking with my mom yesterday, and I said, how long until when he's young enough to be rebellious does he say, I don't like my name, I want to be AJ? When I think of AJ, I think of AJ Soprano. I'm a big Sopranos fan, and AJ Soprano, not a perfect child by any stretch of the imagination. So
he grew as a character.
He did grow, but especially at a young age, he was not he was not the most obedient, well-behaved child. So I'm hoping that he doesn't take after that particular AJ. But honestly, Arlo doesn't have any, in terms of family names, doesn't have any significance. We just really love the name as we were picking out names for boys and girls. We thought about Milo for a long time, but then we sort of pivoted from Milo to Arlo, just changed the first couple letters. And Jules, his middle name, is a family name. Bridget's grandfather, who died of coronavirus in January, his middle name was Jules, and my dad's father, his name was Julian. So we wanted to have at least part of our baby's name after family members. So the first name is honestly just because we liked it. The middle name is in honor of my grandfather and Bridget's grandfather.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, Adam, I've been through this 3 times. Greatest days of my life, always will be. And you can tell us as little or as much as you'd like to, but I guess just in general terms, I'll just give you an open question and leave it to you. What was the entire experience like of delivering this baby?
Oh, it was a lot. So as I said, Arlo was due on Labor Day. Bridget went in to her doctor's office on Monday for a 38-week checkup, and her blood pressure was a little high. So the midwives recommended that they induce labor, which is why he came early. So we checked into Vanderbilt University Medical Center at 5 a.m. on Tuesday, and Bridget was induced around 10 or 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday. By late Wednesday night, like 11:30, we weren't making a lot of progress in terms of being able to have a quote-unquote normal birth. So it was recommended that Bridget undergo a C-section. So at 1 a.m. on Thursday morning / Wednesday night, Bridget and I sat next to Bridget. Bridget went under the knife, and because we just wanted to make sure that her and the baby were going to be okay. And fortunately, everybody's fine. So from the time we got to the hospital to the time the baby was actually born was close to 2 full days. So it was quite the experience. But the baby is healthy. He's happy, as happy as a 36-hour-old baby can be. And yeah, everybody's doing well, and I want to thank everybody, Joe and Elijah and everybody listening, everyone at the station who reached out on social media or via text message. We really appreciate it. We feel the love. It's funny because we talk about this all the time with social media. There are a lot of people who follow me on Twitter or who I interact with on Twitter who I've never actually met before. But, we interact so much on social media that you feel like you know them. So, to all of the people, who have followed me or subscribed to The Athletic, who reached out and said congratulations, it really meant a lot to both of us. I'm looking forward to, spending the month of September as a full-time dad. I'll be back from the first part of my leave, on October 1st, just in time for the start of the regular season, the Predators' regular season, that is. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to these next 5 weeks, just being a dad and taking care of my son.
And here's a big question. It's the biggest one that I have, Adam, is with Arlo being born in a Drew Brees-less New Orleans Saints-led world, is he going to inherit the New Orleans Saints fandom from his father? Are you going to do that to him, set him up for constant heartbreak every January?
Well, it's not so bad. But yeah, no, he'll be a little Saints fan, I'm sure. He already has the Duke onesie at home, so he'll wear that at some point, I'm sure. Actually, he has two because the company I ordered it from lost the first one, so I reordered it, but then they found it. So I actually have two.
Oh, goody.
Oh, wow.
Two of the same Duke onesies. So, Arlo is my good luck charm. We talked about the baby being early. Last night was actually my fantasy football draft.
Nice.
So Arlo helped me out. We did not draft Jameis Winston, but we took a late round flyer on Marquez Callaway.
Smart.
I like that.
So hopefully, with Michael Thomas out for a number of weeks, Jameis doesn't really have any, and both tight ends now on injured reserve. Jameis doesn't really have anyone to throw to.
Yeah.
So hopefully Callaway can win me some games in the early going of the season.
Hey, for everybody listening right now, it's playing fantasy football. There might not be a better late-round sleeper than Marquez Callaway, especially in this market, knowing it's easy to forget that a really good player went to Tennessee because of the coaching malpractice that's gone over there in the past decade.
Well, then you just look in the backfield. Look in the Saints' backfield.
Uh-huh.
That's probably the prime example of quote-unquote Tennessee coaching malpractice.
Yeah. Oh, and Shai Tuttle's on the defensive side of the ball, too. The Saints, I think, have more Tennessee Vol alum than any team in the NFL. I think I heard that from Vince Ferrara the other day.
So, Adam, I've got a text from the text line I have to share from Vincent and Dixon, who says, can Jared start broadcasting from a hospital? So let's see if we can get his volume down. I thought you might like that. All right, we're going to let you go back to Arlo and Bridget and the family, and I'm so excited for you, so happy for you guys. It's going to be an amazing first month there. I do have to throw a hockey question at you, Adam. When you return to work, will either Matthias Ekholm and or Philip Forsberg be locked up by the Nashville Predators?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't really thought about it lately. If I had to guess, I would say by the time I get back from work, I'll say Matthias Ekholm is re-signed. I think Philip Forsberg might take a little bit longer, and yesterday as I was following along on social media while the baby was sleeping, there were two big forward contracts that were signed in the NHL, Andrei Svechnikov and Sean Couturier. I think they signed matching contracts. I think they were both 8-year deals with $7.75 million cap hits. And the first thing I thought is, okay, those are two contracts that I'm sure are going to be compared to Philip Forsberg. Couturier and Svechnikov are definitely more accomplished players than Forsberg. So it gets me wondering what his contract might look like. I think getting Matthias Ekholm under contract will be a less, no pun intended, laborious process than Forsberg.
Very good. See, we get some hockey analysis in there too. and we may have to bother you in September at some point for some parenting tips as you learn to swaddle. I can't wait to hear about swaddling, Vingen. I was very bad at swaddling for a while.
We're not so good at it so far.
Well, it's early.
He's a little wiggle worm, so it's funny because we tried to swaddle him this morning after he had his first feeding, and it was a two-man job. It's like this baby is 6 pounds 10 ounces, and we can't hold down his little arms, long enough to swaddle them because he kept on breaking free. It's just like, it's funny. But the funny thing is everybody, both my mom, my aunt, even some of Bridget's friends have said like the baby looks exactly like me, which I would hope would be the case because it is my baby. But like my mom showed me a picture of me as a newborn. She texted it to me, and like the resemblance is uncanny.
Wow.
So makes me feel good.
That it's your baby. Yeah. So So Arlo is resisting the swaddle, and you know what? You guys have got to work on that. But listen, if he resists Duke fandom, you need to let the kid live his life. Okay. So I mean, you need to have an open mind on this. We will work on that as time goes on.
No, I was indoctrinated at birth. So I'm sure Arlo will be as well. But, of course, the difference being that I was born in Durham. Maybe I have less of a choice. But if his grandfather will have any say in it, Glennon was texting me yesterday telling me to allow the baby to embrace his Commonwealth roots and root for the University of Virginia.
The Wahoos, baby.
He'll be a Duke fan, just like his dad and just like his grandpa.
All right, fine. I suppose that'll be all right. You put him in front of a Memphis game this year, though, and you just never know. You never know what might happen. Vingen, thank you so much for taking your time out. I know you're busy. It's the time of your life, man. So enjoy it. We'll talk to you soon. And I think D-Max said has a gift card coming for you, and Arlo and Bridget as well. So be excited about that.
If Elijah knows this, if Darren says he has a gift card for me, I won't get it until November of 2022.
If you're lucky.
So if I'm lucky, and by then, the baby might not, the baby might have outgrown whatever gift card Darren was going to buy.
So I'm so glad we get a shot in on DMAC in this whole thing too. Adam Vingen, congrats, buddy.
And Jared.
That's right. Well, yeah. That's kind of a given.
No one's safe in this interview. No one is safe.
Congrats, my friend. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Adam Vingen, my coworker at The Athletic, a contributor here, and a new father, Arlo Jules. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be tempting to say AJ, but I'm going to. They obviously they did not do this for Arlo to be AJ, so we gotta respect that. I'm not going to respect the Duke fandom part, but the Arlo versus AJ, yes.
See, yeah, as hopefully, I got nothing against Duke basketball. I actually kind of like the program. But as someone who has been born into some sports fandoms, like University of Tennessee football, it can be torturous. And you'll be asking yourself at the age of 18, 19, why, God, why? Hopefully Duke basketball for Arlo, since it doesn't sound like he has much of a choice here, doesn't descend into that kind of abyss. Once
Coach K is retiring.
Leaves, so
he is retiring. All right, we're going to get a break. When we come back, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I think we should talk about hoops just to make Jared mad more, but we'll see. It'll be a grab bag. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Do you want to win a pair of tickets to Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan at Bridgestone Arena on Friday, September 3rd? Head over to YouTube, subscribe to the 1025 The Game YouTube page, and you'll enter to win your way into the show. One winner will be chosen on Monday, August 30th. Also, it's the 10th birthday, folks, of ESPN 1025 The Game. And we are giving away tickets to awesome things once an hour, all day. We're also going to be at Neighbors today, and it's all day long, and I will be out there. You'll be out there. We'll all be out there, all of us who are in here, and we have a queue to call for this hour. So queue to call, be ready, and I've totally botched this on my computer. The tickets for this hour are for
Belmont basketball.
Yes.
Ooh,
Belmont basketball, and I believe it's a partial season ticket package. Is that correct? I believe it is a flex package for Belmont basketball.
10 ticket flex pack.
10 ticket flex pack. There you go. Belmont hoops. We've got Belmont AD Scott Corley coming up next, by the way, so that's very good timing. So cue to call on that this hour. Welcome back, Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic, intern Will, and you just what was that you were just rocking there, Michelle? Was that
that was a Loverboy song.
Okay.
Was that I think it was the instrumental to Turn Me Loose. Is that what it was?
Billy Ocean. Here's the thing. I started it, have never heard the song before, but I figured you would know it. And it was very slow in the beginning, so I had to skip to the middle. So then we got a little bit more of an upbeat, and then there you go.
Wait. Okay. Wait, that was Billy Ocean?
Yeah.
Oh.
Have you never heard the, I guess, isolated instrumentals for that?
Now I need to hear it again during the break, and that's wild. Okay, because I thought it was Turn Me Loose instrumental. Interesting. Yeah, it's like, the 80s, there's a lot of things that cross over, too. Like Huey Lewis, I Want a New Drug, and the Ghostbusters song. I forget who ripped off who. I think Ray Parker Jr. ripped off Huey Lewis, but it's like the exact same music underneath the track. Incredible. Ghostbusters and I Want a New Drug. So if you just listen to isolate the instrumentals there, check it out. So on the text line, first of all, I'll get back to Jared being mad about hoops. He says, if Pitt basketball landed a big recruit, would they talk about this in Philly? And my response to him was, look, it's not just a big recruit. This is the top class in the country. This is potentially a national champ, also potentially the most dysfunctional team ever.
Yeah.
It's going to be big news all year.
Well, if Villanova did it, they probably would talk about it. Philly's a basketball crazy town. So
yeah, and then Jared says only a basketball Benny would give a rat's ass about any of that right now. Okay, Jared. All right. You were talking Louisville hoops yesterday. Let's not throw stones at glass houses and whatnot. The text line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Yeah, Chris in Nashville called it Billy Ocean. Okay, so Billy Ocean, that wasn't Caribbean Queen, was it?
No, Billy Ocean. It just says Billy Ocean, Loverboy.
I see. It was Billy Ocean, the song Loverboy. Oh, my gosh. You're blowing my mind here.
I didn't even realize that.
The song, yeah, I just want to be No, that's Tina Marie Lovergirl. Holy cow, I don't know. I've gone down the 80s.
This is right down your alley,
dude. I've gone down the
now
80s wormhole. Lost. I don't know where I'm going right now. Let's go to Dennis on the text line. I want to know what you think of the two veteran safeties the Titans brought in. I thought McDougal was everywhere last game. Bradley McDougal. You got Jamal Carter. You have three safeties right now who are, I think, absolutely vying to be the fourth safety. Look, Brady Breeze was having, I would say, a
interesting camp.
Well, yeah, and a pretty inconsequential camp, and now is hurt. Dane Cruikshank, I believe I saw him trying to work through some things yesterday. I think that was him. It was kind of from afar, but the guy's been hurt so much. I don't think it's a coincidence, right? They bring in Clayton Geathers, they bring in Jamal Carter, they bring in Bradley McDougal. I would agree if I had to pick of those three right now to join who I think is the third safety, which is Matthias Farley, I would probably pick McDougal. But look, if you're a Titans fan who's digging in on the bottom part of the roster, this is a very interesting thing to watch Saturday night. And look, it's important. Kevin Byard and Imani Hooker, I think that's a nice safety tandem. You got to have depth at every position. And right now with Cruikshank hurt and with Breeze, it's not really he wasn't really distinguishing himself. Maybe he would be by now, but he's hurt. I think those three players are all important and all battling for a job. And, yeah, I would agree on McDougal. I think he's looked the best from my naked eye in the press box and on the practice field. But I think Geathers is also an interesting player, and that's going to be something to watch for sure Saturday.
I like McDougald's track record in the NFL too. I mean,
he's older, but he's still only 30.
Yeah, I mean, he's not ancient. He still has maybe a year or two left, and you're not asking him to be the starting safety right now. I mean, he's there for depth, and if you get a guy who, I mean, only about 2 years ago in Seattle had 88% of Seattle's defensive snaps. I mean, he was a key contributor on the Seahawks defense 2 years ago, and a guy who is productive. I mean, he's not an all-pro. He's not a Pro Bowler or anything like that, but I mean, this was still a 70 tackle guy. His last full season, he only played 7 games as a Jet last season. I mean, this is a guy that's got NFL pedigree, and when you're comparing, would you rather have a guy who's been in the league since 2013 and has had a couple productive seasons on some all right defenses, or someone like Brady Breeze, who you're not really sure about right now, still incredibly young, on a defense that just needs to be competent? You can minimize some of those road bumps with a guy like McDougald. I think that's perfect for a backup safety option.
Yeah, I mean, like with Crookshank, Crookshank's big value is in the kicking game, and he's been a core special teams player since he's been here. And I think some of the puzzle is put together with the question of, have they found enough other guys at whatever position it may be to do some of what he did? And look, if they don't feel like they have difference makers enough, and he's on the track to being healthy, he still has a shot, but it's just availability is at some point when it gets so bad the one way, when you're unavailable this much, you start thinking, look, the team has to be looking around, has to be looking for other answers. And I mean, I think that's what we're seeing. So we'll see if any of those guys, can distinguish themselves. But I agree. I mean, McDougald has done some good things in this league.
It's a competent safety, man. And when you're talking about depth pieces, I mean, that's the word that I am going to be using all year long to ask from the Titans defense. Just give me competence. And I think Bradley McDougald will at least give you that competence. And if he can stay healthy, which he's proven he can the last several years, the exception of last year.
I'm going to get to Matt from Camden on the text line real fast. Is it crazy to expect 16.5 sacks from Bud Dupree this year if he's completely healthy? I don't think it is. $1 million per sack. I think 16.5 might be shooting a little high.
Aaron Donald range.
I think half of that would be in tandem with a healthy season, in tandem with what Bud Dupree does. And Bud Dupree absolutely is a run-stopping player. That's his reputation. He's an all-around, every down kind of outside linebacker. I think that would be okay. I think certainly when you pay someone that much, you'd really like to see double figures. So
that's a fair goal. I think that's a more fair goal than 16.5. 16.5's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans as a team had 19 last year. So
if he gives them 11 or 12, you're going to get some from Autry too. As an interior defensive line, Danico Autry has proven he can get to the quarterback too. So if you get even like 11 from Bud Dupree, you're going to get 5 or 6 from Autry, and you almost have your whole season total right there on 2 new players.
Right, and if Dupree is that kind of guy who can be there every week and can get close to that, and Autry and Simmons together are a real problem, what does that mean for Harold Landry? I mean, you would think that Harold Landry would benefit from that.
Opportunistic
and would also
matchups,
produce.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, look, there are a lot of reasons to look at this defense and think it could be quite a bit better. It's just that you can't feel safe projecting that to me until you see them in real games. But there are things to like. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to get Belmont Athletic Director Scott Corley here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5, The Game. Tune in to Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight on ESPN 94.9 as the Sounds continue their homestand at First Horizon Park against Gwinnett, AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. Pre-game show with Jeff Hem starts at 6:50. First pitch, 7:05 p.m. Nashville Sounds Baseball presented by 321 Pizza Company and Farm Bureau Health Plans. This weekend's game, Saturday, pre-game 6:50, first pitch 7:05 on ESPN 94.9. And Sunday versus Gwinnett, pre-game 6 p.m., first pitch 6:15, also on ESPN 94.9. Welcome back to Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell, Michelle Knezovic, intern Will, and very happy to bring in our next guest, Scott Corley, Belmont Athletic Director, has done a fantastic job at Belmont. And right now, a lot of changes at Belmont, a lot of changes in college athletics. We got a lot to talk about. Scott, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, Joe. How are you? I guess is happy birthday in order?
I guess that's right. Yeah, that's right. The 10th birthday. I've been calling it like the 10th anniversary, which is like, that's not right.
You're close.
So
it's the anniversary of its birth.
Yeah, 10th birth anniversary. But yeah, so 10 years, pretty awesome. And we just actually think we gave away, or we're giving away this hour, a flex pack. Actually, can you shed more light? The flex pack, I assume that's you can choose various games on the season ticket package. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, you get to take. We give you as much flexibility as you can. However many tickets you want to use for however many games. I think it's a 10-ticket flex pack, so you could use all 10 on one game, or you could spread it out, do 2 over 5 games. And
I got you.
That's a pretty good prize this year. It should be a lot of good basketball going on at the Curb.
Absolutely. But both men's and women's teams both look outstanding. Some really exciting players, and of course, Seth Davis does our top 25 at the Athletic, and he did a revised one this week when Memphis landed Amani Bates, big recruit out of Michigan. But he has Belmont 25th. Now I don't understand exactly, Scott, why he dropped Belmont from 23rd to 25th. I don't know what the reasoning was there, but Belmont 25th, and I'm seeing that in a lot of the early season, the way too early top 25s, Belmont. Right. I feel like there's a good chance that the men's team is ranked preseason. What would that mean just alone, that recognition, for Casey Alexander's program? Like, what does that say to you, not just about, like, this team, which is really good, but just sort of how Belmont has kind of grown in terms of national visibility?
Well, it would be huge. Obviously, it's never happened before. Certainly, it's nice for these guys and Casey and this team to get some of that recognition after the last 2 seasons where, COVID's hit us both times. So, I know our guys are focused. I know Casey and the staff's focused. And, Joe, with those types of preseason rankings, it certainly makes you a target. But I'd rather that. I'd rather the national exposure that comes with that. You see your name on every, ticker scrawl on ESPN and the others, because when you're top 25, they always roll those teams. So, it's exciting for us, to be, with what we have coming back, with the way we've been playing. It certainly is an exciting time. We've got a schedule. We'll release our schedule coming up here soon, but we've got a schedule that gives us a lot of opportunities to have some nice wins that would also register on a national basis. So it never hurts, and, very excited to see the program get that national recognition because it's been such a consistent program of excellence. And, it's very difficult at our level to really break those types of rankings. And so to get that kind of love right now, we'll gladly take it.
Well, Scott, that's the non-league schedule, as you said, so important for mid-major teams to be able to play these games. And, Frank, it's important for Power 5 teams to be willing to schedule them. It's important for you guys to be able to play them. I mean, look, I think last year's team, if you have a normal season, I know you guys are going to play in that Orlando tournament and get some really good games there. I think you guys would have been in great shape probably. I mean, I'm just, hypothetically projecting what your team was and what you would have done. You probably would have been in good shape to still get an at-large if not for COVID taking it away. So my question for you, given where we are now with the Delta variant and everything, and it just feels like we're kind of going backward in some ways with COVID, are you concerned about some of these things being jeopardized?
Well, yeah, you're always concerned with this variant. I know we've, just bringing back some of our athletes, we've had a couple issues, and we're finding it to be very contagious, and, it can run through, a team pretty quickly, particularly, obviously, we all know for those individuals that aren't vaccinated. So there's always that concern. We live in a state where, unfortunately, Joe, only 40% of the state is vaccinated, so there's always going to be concerns when 60% is not vaccinated, and what does this variant going to do? But, I think all we can do is keep educating our student athletes, our fans, things like that. I know everybody wants to have as normal of a season as possible, and that'll be dictated certainly by what the variant does and how people handle it. So I try not to go down that road, Joe, because
right.
If we got to repeat what happened last year, that would be very, very challenging and extremely disappointing, because that would be tough 2 years in a row not to be able to have a full house at the curb cheering on two really, really good basketball teams.
No doubt. So on vaccinations, where in terms of policy for Belmont, Scott, is it is everyone vaccinated? Is there any sort of mandate? And what have you guys talked about that in terms of the crowds at the curb?
Yeah, no mandate at the university level at Belmont, therefore no mandate from us. We have obviously strongly encouraged the players, the coaches, the managers, et cetera. I will say our percentage of those that are vaccinated is higher than the state of Tennessee. I don't want to go into specifics, but we're better than the state. And but I, as an AD, my life would get a lot simpler if we were at 100%. We're not going to get to 100%. I don't see that happening. And as far as fans right now, we're going to open the arena up for volleyball. We're going to, open it up as if everything's normal. So much of that's dictated by the Metro Health Department, and if Metro Health changes and decides that we need to limit, fan attendance, then we'll adjust accordingly.
Talking to Scott Corley, Belmont Athletic Director. And Scott, one thing I noticed, I was scrolling around on Twitter the other day, and outside of looking at the pictures of the new basketball practice facility, which looks incredible, I'd like to come check it out sometime, but there's a couple of familiar faces coming by and getting some shots up with Ian Clark, Dylan Windler, Kevin McClain, and guys that have gone on to have some NBA success. How good does it feel to see a program grow like Belmont's, to be able to have that type of environment that draws its more successful athletes to come back, even if it is just to get a workout in or to talk with Coach Alexander? There's becoming this more Belmont connection that you see with some of the better basketball programs in the country. Like Duke tweets out, hashtag Duke Brotherhood all the time, and they're always having alumni come back for games and events. But I saw that the other day, and that's one thing, a parallel that came to my mind, just seeing some of its more successful athletes come back and check out things like the new facility.
Yeah, Elijah, that's a great point. I mean, that's something we've always prided ourselves in, was a brotherhood. And, I think when you have a coach, and Rick Byrd, who'd been there 33 years, and then you follow it up with a coach, Casey, who has the Belmont connections, that continuity is huge, and it helps really build that brotherhood amongst all former players. I mean, we've been doing a former player dinner, gosh, I can't even remember how long ago it started, and we get, 40, 50 players to come back, and that's a good turnout with people's lives and schedules, and not all live in Nashville. So that's something that's important to us. That's something we tell our recruits. I mean, when you come to Belmont, you play basketball, put on that jersey, you're part of a family for the rest of your life. And I can speak to it, being a former player and an alum. And so obviously, then you add the momentum that comes with an Ian Clark and what he breaking the barrier, getting into the NBA, then Dylan, Kevin, and all that. It's just really, really awesome. And, to have a facility like the Crockett Center to allow former players to come back and work at their craft is one of the reasons why we built it, quite honestly. And I know Casey put in the locker room for, he's got a picture of all the former players that are playing internationally, or professionally, I should say. And so I think that resonates with recruits when they see that, and they know they can achieve their dreams of playing professionally by coming to Belmont.
And another interesting visitor, too, Scott, I'm a huge fan of records and eye-popping numbers. I love 70s college basketball because some of the best college basketball records are in there, like Artis Gilmore blocking 10 shots a game and grabbing 22 rebounds. But there's another record breaker that came by and visited Belmont this week. Joe Gaines was a former former draft pick by the Trailblazers, holds a Belmont career record for rebounds at 17 a game. That's some impressive numbers. Yeah, that's a record now. How cool is it to see a guy like that come and be able to use a platform like Twitter to be able to teach more about a program's history that isn't as publicized as a lot of other major D1 programs are?
Well, certainly the power of social media, right? And I even retweeted and said, I want y'all to let me reemphasize that stat. That's a career average of 17 rebounds.
That's a lot of boards.
It's ridiculous.
It's really crazy to think. And Joe's just a super guy, and he always comes back around. And I typically see him. We do our Hall of Fame dinner coming up this year, September 16th, where Ian will be getting inducted along with Karan Johnson and 4 others. And Joe usually comes to that event. I mean, he's just and we love talking about the history of the program because, we're all standing on shoulders, right? And Joe set a standard, back in the 70s, and we just want to see this program get better and better every year. And I tell former players, we need you to be invested. We need you to come back because that just helps build the momentum, and it just helps continue to propel and grow this program to where we all want to see it on a national basis.
Talking to Belmont AD Scott Corley. Scott, last thing for you. I did want to ask you about name, image, likeness, and if there's any sort of – you're seeing any sort of impact, how you think that might impact Belmont. Also, I want to throw this out. Destiny Wells, I think, needs to get like some sort of like a juice endorsement because she puts defenders in a blender. See? It's that easy. I mean, right there. You see? So you can use that if you want, but – has name, image, likeness, has it reached Belmont student-athletes, and where do you think this is going, and how do you think it will impact Belmont?
Yeah, I'd say right now it's been limited from our student-athlete involvement. I mean, most of it's social media, smaller type deals where a kid may be promoting a brand of clothing where, they may get a 5% payment if whoever buys it uses their code. It's probably a handful of kids right now that are taking advantage of this. We do have one women's soccer player who has a large TikTok following, and so she is now able to monetize, off of that TikTok following. But overall, I think, the students are asking a lot of good questions. I think our role and what the role the NCAA allows us to play is just more education. So we cannot, to your example, even though that was great about Destiny, we cannot go find somebody. You're not supposed to. I don't want to go down this philosophical path, but, my understanding what Memphis did with the Bonnie, on his recruitment seems to be blurring the lines there, but we're not allowed to go out and find a sponsor and connect it with our player. That's up to the player to do. It's their name, image, and likeness. And so, I think time will tell for us. In a lot of ways, we're recruiting the same kids. And this just we're not recruiting against a lot of Power Fives for the types of players that we get at Belmont. But at the same time, we want to be able to provide the opportunity for those student-athletes that want to take advantage of it, that they can take advantage of it. And I got no problem with that. We've got a lot of smart kids who are entrepreneurial mindset, and if, they can figure out a way to do it and make some money, more power to them. But right now, Joe, just to be honest, it's been pretty limited.
Interesting. Well, it's going to be very interesting to track and just so much to come, so many changes in college athletics, and it's going to be a great year at Belmont. Great talking to you, Scott. Appreciate you coming on, and hope to see you soon over there at Belmont.
Glad to do it, Joe. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Scott Corley, Belmont Athletic Director. We're going to come back for the final segment. First, I'd like to let people know that you can enter to win one of 4 exclusive Preds prizes. Post a photo showing attendance at 1025 The Game's 10th birthday party. Tag at Preds NHL at 1025 The Game. use the hashtag PredsPriday, Priday. 4 winners will be randomly selected to win a Preds prize pack, a Roman Josi signed puck, a Philip Forsberg signed puck, or a UC Saros signed flag. And we will be back for the final segment here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Rocking out, and we're doing Nashville SC Pick to Click. Camarena Tequila. What Nashville SC player do you think will score a goal in tomorrow's game against Atlanta? Right now, we don't have a caller. Callers are killing us. If you'd like to get in, now is the time. I have navigated this show into having very little time to do this. So we're going to go around for us and get our choices. And I don't even know who would be first. Michelle, do you have any idea?
I'll volunteer.
That's fine. You'll be first. Okay, you can be first.
Someone had to fall on the grenade here.
Okay, how about this? I'm going to switch it up this week. I know I'm pretty loyal to Randall Leal, but hasn't gone so well. So I'm going to go with Mukhtar.
Oh, that was one I was really thinking of.
Okay, so maybe I'll take home the winner today.
That's a good choice. Elijah, I'm sorry, you have to go last. I'm going to go Randall Leal. I'll take Randall Leal.
Oh wow! So you're just gonna leave me C.J. Sapong?
I'm gonna let you have C.J. Sapong.
You're gonna leave me with the team, the guy that leads the team in goals and expected goals per 90 minutes.
It's my appreciation for your work today on the show. You've done a fine job, and yes, you can have C.J. Sapong.
Wow! Chase McCabe texted me, giving me the advice to take Rios. I thought about Rios. But, man, if you're going to give me C.J. Sapong, I want to take C.J. Sapong.
You've got it. You've got it. You did a great job today. It's been a great show, great week, although I must say running the show has been stressful, and I look forward to Robby coming back from Orlando. Also, Chase McCabe, he had the first pitch last night. We haven't talked about this yet. I thought it was fine. He bounced it, but it was
only one bounce.
It was okay. It was a one-bouncer. Yeah. I mean, Jared shaming him on Twitter, and I had no problem. I have seen Chase McCabe in various athletic endeavors.
Great, my man Chase on a curve.
The one bounce pitch from Chase McCabe at the Sounds game, first pitch, I'm cool with that.
That's better than 50
okay
cents.
With that?
Yeah, it's better than 50 Cent's first pitch. The notoriously bad first pitch from 50 Cent.
That was incredible. Denard Robinson had one of the worst I've ever seen, too.
Yeah.
So, Chase, you are okay in our book. And in fact, you're up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Come out to Neighbors in Germantown. We're going to have a blast today. 10th birthday. Coming up right next. Darren, Donick, and Chase here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.